The following is an exclusive presentation of the World Baseball Classic.
Shohei Ohtani, 1 of 1.
¡Siéntate! Lo retrata sin sonrisa.
God! George has arrived. Good night now. Santa Maria. High and deep and gone.
World Baseball Classic. You get it all.
The two best words in all of sports are Game 7, and the emotion and narrative that those words convey is do or die. It may not actually be Game 7 technically today, but that is the exact scenario we find ourselves in this afternoon for our final game of Pool A at Huron Bithorn Stadium in San Juan, where today the equation is simple for Josh Naylor and Canada, as well as Alfredo Despaigne in Cuba. Win, and you're on to the quarterfinal round of the 2026 World Baseball Classic. We could not have asked for anything better on this Wednesday afternoon as we welcome you in, everybody, alongside Ryan Rowland-Smith. My name is Tyler Mon. Ryan, 3 years ago, we had the pool of chaos. We had the calculations, the tiebreakers, 5 teams at 2-2. Today, it's very easy for Canada and Cuba. You get that win, and you're on to Houston.
Well, we've had such a good run down here in Pool A. So much fun, but you wouldn't want it any other way. You get to day 6. All of a sudden, that last game, 2 teams, Cuba, Canada, it's win or go home. This is going to be such a fun afternoon.
Ryan, for Canada today, they will go to a guy who's trying to rediscover himself at the Major League level, and with their World Baseball Classic on the line, it's Cal Quantrill who gets the ball.
And we asked during your word about Cal Quantrill. He said he wanted to go with that experience. He's been a fixture in a Major League rotation since 2020, but it hasn't been a smooth ride when you look at the numbers from 23 to 25. And a big reason why, Cal just simply is trying to find that put-away pitch. What's that out pitch? The splitter has always been that 2-strike option. But you look at this, the lowest strikeout rate. So a big key for him, Tyler, today, getting good counts, number 1, and just try and do some of that weak contact. Don't try and do too much on this stage at this point in your career. Get that weak contact, put your team in a good spot.
Ryan, Canada has never pitched well at the World Baseball Classic, and that is very much changing this season. They are 3rd place in this event with that 1.67 staff ERA as they look to clinch a quarterfinal trip here in 2026 for the first time in their program's history. Now, on the other side, on day number 1 here in San Juan, we talked with Herman Mesa, the manager of this Cuba team. You get to go with Livan Moinelo on day 1. There a chance to bring him back for your final game? Without hesitation, he said absolutely, as the reigning Pacific League MVP in Japan gets the ball today.
Well, he was brilliant that first game. He is the ace for this Cuban team. We've talked about the Canadian offense. They have got their hands full with Livan Moinelo. We saw that on that first game. That breaking ball, curveball. We know all about all these left-handed hitters for this Cuban team, but it is tough when you're talking with your right-handed or left-handed. One of the best 3,000 RPM spin. He found that pitch, 2nd or 3rd inning in. He went 3 2/3. He was dominant. Then he's going to hand the ball off to that man, Yariel Rodriguez. If you're a Blue Jays fan, you're very familiar with him. A lot of these Canadians have seen him pitch. And then, of course, closing out games is Rydell Martinez. Man, this game gets short very quick when you got him down in that bullpen.
An extremely tall order for Canada's offense. Cuba's offense in this tournament, there's been a common theme, obviously a small sample size, but home runs in their wins over Panama and Colombia. They were not able to make a lot of contact against Puerto Rico, and that was their lone loss of this event. Cuba has never failed to advance beyond the first round in the World Baseball Classic. They played for a championship in 2006. They were in the semifinals in 2023, and it's all on the line for both them and Canada here today at Huron Bithorn Stadium. We've got a do or die final game of Pool A in 2026 as Cal Quantrill and Cuba go against Livan Moinelo and Canada with this quarters on the round.
Are they going to bring him in? They are. They're trying to wave him home. Run inside the Parker, and he's going to get it. And folks, it is 7-0 Canada over Team USA. He makes the catch. He held on to it. Softly to first, and that's the ball game. Canada has upset the United States by a final score of 8-6.
20 years ago, the biggest win in World Baseball Classic history for Canada. It was the Adam Stern Show in Phoenix, Arizona, as the squad from up north took down the United States. But today, with a victory against Livan Moinelo and Cuba, this win would surpass that one. And on the flip side, for Cuba, a trip to the quarterfinals something they have never missed out on in 20 years of World Baseball Classic action. Canadian manager Ernie Whitt, Ryan, we got a chance to talk with him earlier today. Seemed very calm, very ready to go for this one. And on the other side, a veteran of international ball, both as a player and now as a manager for this team, Germán Mesa. He gets to hand the ball to, without exaggeration, one of the best left-handed pitchers on planet Earth for this final game.
And we got a chance to mention Ernie Whitt saying that, I said, how are you going to attack Livan Moinelo? He said one thing with him, that he has a tendency at times to spray the ball. We've seen how patient and some of the plate discipline from this lineup. A few changes too, Tyler. When you look at the Canadian lineup, you see Julian has slid from the leadoff spot down to that 9-hole. Otto Lopez has taken that leadoff spot. Josh Naylor's DHing again. He's a little banged up. He got hit from on the elbow yesterday. And, of course, Owen Casey, who's swinging the bat. He is red hot right now, sliding up into that 5th spot.
Man, and what a compliment for Owen Casey. He started this tournament as the 8-hole hitter. He's been bumped all the way up to the 5 spot. And here is Livan Moinelo, the reigning Pacific League most valuable player in Japan with those numbers from 2025.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are just ridiculous. The MVP of the NPB, but the last couple of years has been a sub-2 ERA. And that breaking ball is going to be that big weapon once he gets settled in.
And the lefty kicks and deals his first pitch at 3:08 in the afternoon for ball 1, and we are underway here for our final game of 10 in 6 days from here on Bithorn Stadium in San Juan, as Otto Lopez goes after the second pitch and fouls it away. Otto Lopez, top spot in the lineup, and the shortstop today, first appearance in the leadoff hole for him. He and this squad have done more than enough work offensively in their couple of wins, but obviously, Ryan, you would love to see one of those days where everything just comes together if you're Ernie Whitt, and changing things up in the lineup, you try to go with a different combination to jump on a really talented starter right out of the gate. Ball and 2 strikes on Lopez, and ball 2 down and in. Moinelo working with Andres Perez behind the plate today, so you got to look at Ernie Whitt over there in that third base dugout. The veteran backstop on this Cuban national team. Moinelo into the wind. It's 2-2 in tight on Lopez, and 3 balls and 2 strikes. You're hoping you'll see more of that today if you're Ernie Whitt.
Well, we saw that in that first inning against Panama with the first time out. You're questioning about the pitch count and how this is going to play out, on knowing that they want to bring him back on this final day. But it's at bats like this. We haven't seen that big breaking ball. He's gone more of the fastball slider combination. But again, it worked out so well for this Cuban team on that first day, the way they were able to cover those innings. Had the 2 off days in between.
3-2, Lopez back up the middle. A leadoff single on the 7th pitch of the first at bat of Wednesday afternoon, and Lopez is on to get it started for Canada.
And Tyler, make no mistake here on that Cuban bench. They're pressing just as much as this Team Canada's pressing. As good as Livan Moinelo, as some of the accolades he's had the last couple of years, the sub-2 ERA, the curveball, everything we've talked about, I guarantee he's going to be on that short leash. If you see these 3-2 counts, spraying the ball around a little bit and that hard contact, you might see that bullpen get going just a little bit quicker.
So the first man on, and that brings up the big league bat of Josh Naylor, who is 3 for 12 so far here in the World Baseball Classic, and again got drilled yesterday by a pitch. We got a pitch clock violation on Livan Moinelo. You know, I did ask Germán Mesa about that earlier today. We've seen some pitch clock issues. We've seen some pitch comm issues with Cuba, and he said, yeah, I mean, they are complicating factors. Our guys haven't really dealt with this before, but stuff that we're getting used to as the Classic goes along. Now, Naylor will call time. Wow, is this his second consecutive? That's 2 in a row. And here comes Mesa, who is going to have a conversation with our home plate umpire.
And you can see Trip Gibson, he was pointing towards his eyes. It's about the eye contact, right? And we saw this the other night with Jose Caballero on the Panamanian team. You can see Moinelo getting a little frustrated.
The clock had not yet reached. We saw a strike 3 against Cuba with 8 seconds on the pitch clock a couple of nights ago. Moinelo still had about 12 seconds left there, and Naylor was not looking at him. So I think that's the conversation
from Germán Mesa is, well, what is our guy supposed to do here?
And again, we've seen Josh Naylor, his antics over at second base a couple days ago. What he's able to do to disrupt. You think he's not well aware of this too? This is something I guarantee they would have talked about before the game, watching some of the tape, watching some of the matchups the last couple of days. He wasn't even close to making eye contact with Livan Moinelo.
In case you are wondering, they do not use the pitch clock in Japan. They do use a pitch clock in Korea, but Livan Moinelo has not utilized the pitch clock in. See, and now Andres Perez is getting really frustrated as Josh Naylor's having a conversation with Tripp Gibson, and Perez is just going to leave the field and go talk with Germán Mesa. And Ryan, all of this is a degree of gamesmanship, and you brought up Jose Caballero. Josh Naylor, if you're not into the heads of Livan Moinelo and this Cuban team right now, you're certainly working your way there.
Right. Again, you got 9 innings, right? That's it. Every out, every little leg up that you can generate, especially against a guy like this in Livan Moinelo, especially left-on-left matchups if you're Josh Naylor. All these things factor in. If
you're starting in this game and this is going on, Ryan, how does this affect, you know, your momentum? You just went to 7 pitches on a leadoff guy who got a hit off of you. It's pretty hot out there. What does this do mentally to Livan Moinelo?
Well, I think with him, look, when you go back and watch him pitch in the MPB, he is that guy that takes him a couple innings, as dominant as he was, to get in a nice rhythm. We saw that first game. And now all of a sudden, we're just going to make sure we've got this translated in Spanish, especially for Livan Moinelo and his manager. But he's a guy that it takes a little bit to get moving. Now, you can see some of the nonverbal cues. When you want to know if a pitcher is not comfortable, watch some of the body language.
The interpreter out there with Cuba's Francisco Campo, who is part of their delegation as the press officer, and Nestor Sea, the third base umpire, coming in to help in this conversation. But you certainly understand the frustration from Cuba's side. And on the flip side for Canada, man, Josh Naylor is just a guy that you love to have on your side. Absolutely. Because he has the ability to do so. This is an extracurricular thing. It's not necessarily a baseball thing. Josh Naylor just has a way to be a factor in so many different areas. And I mean, he's going to see his first pitch of this at bat ahead 2-0 in the count.
Let's see how he reacts here. If he's doing everything he can not to look up at Livan Moinelo. He's not even close to looking. Here he goes.
See him looking over at the dugout, throwing his hand out. Like, what am I supposed to do here? Now we're ready to go. 2-0 pitch. Moinelo misses just barely there. His first pitch to Naylor, and it's 3 balls and no strikes.
And Tyler, if you're confused with all this, remember it's this 8-second mark, right? So you have to, the other part of this is too, because of pitch comp. So like usually you have to wait, you have that rhythm of getting the signs in between, you know, in between the legs from the catcher. But the reason why is because sometimes a catcher will give you that pitch well in advance, right? So the whole idea with the pitch clock, you don't want guys just come and set ready to throw. You got to give the hitter a little bit of leeway there too.
Now Naylor calls time and steps out. This is interesting to see from the standpoint of how it affects Livan Moinelo, because when I talked with Germán Mesa earlier today, I said, what is Moinelo like on his start days? Is he in there quiet? Is he focused? Is he a boisterous guy who likes to be joking around with his teammates? And he said he's just focused. The stadium could be falling down around him and he would be focused on his next pitch. But he seems a little rattled here as he issues a 2-pitch walk, in effect, to Josh Naylor, and it's 1st and 2nd to get things started against Livan Moinelo for Canada in the 1st.
And Tyler, I can't stress this enough, right? Putting the pressure on the pitcher, on the defense as well, as we get a look at the Cuban defense. A little bit different. We see Vargas playing shortstop, Noah Rubarena. Young Key playing first base over there. But all these little things, man, we talk about every out, how important it is. And if it's the first thing, you don't want to walk away from this game thinking back to what we could have done in that first inning. So they have got to put Cuba and Moinelo on the ropes here early.
Last season for the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks in the Pacific League in Japan, Livan Moinelo had a better than 4-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, 172 strikeouts and just 42 walks while putting up that 1.46 ERA in 24 games started. He does not often find himself in a 1st and 2nd nobody out situation to start a game. Tyler O'Neill ropes one foul. 1-2 on the big Canadian right fielder out of British Columbia.
And this is a huge at-bat. Tyler O'Neill, some of the patience, some of the discipline, that walk last night against Puerto Rico. Down 2 strikes. Got to make something happen here early.
Moinello trying to put away his first batter of Wednesday afternoon. The 1-2 is down to O'Neill. Tyler O'Neill has been so terrifically patient throughout this World Baseball Classic. 3 games, he's walked 5 times, just 1 hit. But he has been a force in getting on base. 2-2, and Moinello's got his first strikeout as he blows away O'Neill. 1 gone in the first.
Again, we talk about every pitch, every at-bat. Don't let it come back to haunt you as you get deeper into this game. Again, Livan Moinello, you got him on the ropes. It could be few and far between where he starts to struggle with that command. Now all of a sudden he gets that big strike at a pitch. Honestly, Tyler O'Neill, and we've seen this throughout the years, could handle.
So 1 away, and the runners are going, and Moinello now has Lopez hung up between second and third, and Canada runs into an out on the base paths. But we're going to get a balk call instead on Moinello, and all kinds of controversy here in the first inning. Tomoya Ishiyama, our second base umpire, will confer with his colleagues. I did not see Ishiyama signaling that initially, but I did see Andres Perez start waving to Moinello to step off and throw over with the runners moving.
Have a look. And you got to clear that rubber with your back foot. Well, it's tough to see from here. His back foot and hands have to separate. Excuse me, his back foot has to go off the back of the rubber.
And you know what? That I don't think was a balk call. He's calling Yoan Moncada for being the way of the runner. That's what it is.
You're right.
And so is Otto Lopez.
I'll tell you what, this first inning for this Cuban team has been a grind. They're going to talk it over.
Very interesting
look at it.
Start to this game. And you certainly see it from the standpoint of Lopez that Moncada was in his way.
Good job right there from Ishiyama.
So
See that interference.
Could be an obstruction call against Moncada, and that's it. I mean, and Otto Lopez, you know, to his credit, you see that guy over your shoulder run right at him. And I don't know if he initiated contact there, but certainly proved his point that, hey, this is right in the baseline. He's got to get out of my way.
Yeah, and look, you're taught too, when you get in those rundown, or excuse me, when you on the defensive side of the rundown, make the throw and peel off. Yoan Moncada, man, we've talked about this a lot the last couple of years, just some of the lapses, that focus, that concentration. Yeah, Ishiyama was all over that.
Yeah, sort of could tell that that wasn't a balk call because Ishiyama was not making a call during the rundown. It wasn't until after the play, and then he pointed at Moncada. And this is going to stand as it looks right now with runners at second and third, and a very frustrated Herman Mesa returns to the first base dugout. So it's second and third with 1 out now on the obstruction call. Canada's fans are frustrated. Or Cuba's fans, rather, are frustrated. Canada's fans, of which there is a large contingent, they got a really good start here. And an opportunity to jump in front. The guy who's been hitting the ball very hard, Abraham Toro, swings at the first pitch and pops it up. Moncada will track this one and put it away in foul ground. Big out for the second of the first inning.
Man, you get a break like that if you're this Canadian team, you have to take advantage, man. It comes down to 9 innings. A Game 7 mentality.
Now Moinello will get a chance to go left on left against Owen Casey, who crushed a double to the opposite field off a left-hander last night against Raymond Burgos. The first pitch is there for a strike to him. And Ryan, the swings and momentum in this inning, the long at bat, the 2-0 count with Naylor, the pitch clock violations, now the obstruction call. You can flip that if you get into the dugout and don't allow anything here. 1-1 on Casey.
That's the biggest separator, Tyler. When you are pitching on the biggest stage, whether it's the WBC, in the postseason, in Major League Baseball, in the MPB, you want to ask yourself about someone's makeup. Can you deal with all that adversity right here and put up a 0?
Casey swings and can't get the 1-1, and he's down in the count.
And I tell you what, this is such a tough matchup for Owen Casey because he does have a little bit of that chase in his game. We know about the power. Now you got 2 options. You can snap off that big breaking ball down and away. We can elevate once again, up and in.
A ball and 2 strikes on the Marlins prospect. Down even.
A good job laying off that pitch.
Cuba has been able to stymie opponents with runners in scoring position, batting just .094 against Cuban pitching, and Casey took that one right off the inside part of the plate, and the count goes full.
And this is where you got to back yourself. You got to eliminate a pitch right here. This is a fastball in. Now it's 3-2. You have to eliminate either a fastball or a breaking ball and just hunt one of these offerings.
And Casey walks. Second free pass of the inning issued by Moinello, and the bases are loaded now for another guy who's been playing in Asia for the last couple of seasons, Matt Davidson of the NC Dinos in Korea.
Man, what an at-bat from Owen Casey. Yeah, that one hurdle he will have to get over once he becomes an established major league player is that chase, that swing and miss. Got one of the toughest lefties. And he's able to grind out that walk. Now all of a sudden, look at this, 23 pitches against Levon Moinello. So that's a little victory in itself for this first inning. You got to play to run right here.
Lopez at third, Naylor at second, and Casey at first. Davidson, who had not even taken it at bat yet in the World Baseball Classic, got a couple of them last night on for Tyler Black. He struck out twice. Down to the count here, 0-2. Nearly a 20-minute first inning to get this game started already. Moinello up to 25 pitches, trying to get the final out of a crazy top of the first. 0-2, and a foul ball knocks the mask off of Perez.
And got a pitch you could handle there too with 2 strikes. Yeah, one thing with Levon Moinello, I mean, he gets real stingy when he gets to 2 strikes. Nowhere near the strike zone.
Moinello ready again. Davidson high in the air on the infield. Moncada, with the wind always playing a factor, calmly puts it away. In the composure of Levon Moinello, he wriggles out of the first. We'll go to the bottom of 1, scoreless. Cuba coming up. A baseball legend on the island of Cuba is that man in the center of your screen in the red pullover, Herman Mesa, who called his guys around after that insane top half of the first inning and got everybody there to try to rally the troops as we head into the bottom of 1. That was a bizarre first. A couple of pitch clock violations on Levon Moinello, an obstruction call. That was certainly the right call on Yoan Moncada. And as Cuba goes to the batter's box, we got our first look at Cal Quantrill.
Yeah, I mean, look at the numbers right there. ERA 6, he really struggled last year, especially in the last couple of months. And man, the weight of the world on his shoulders right now to try and navigate through this Cuban lineup.
He goes to work against Alexander Vargas to start things off. Ryan, a really different looking lineup. It's not often that you see a switch in the top of the order and as your starting shortstop in a game like this.
Well, Tyler, we've talked a lot about this Canadian team up against this stud pitching on the Cuban side with Levon Moinello against Ariel Rodriguez. But what about that Cuban team? We're in the middle of the first, and they're already having the halftime speech, switching up the lineup. They are pressing. Why? Because the threat of not advancing out of pool play looms large right now against Canada.
2 balls and 2 strikes, and right out of the gate, we're going to get a look at Cal Quantrill in a circumstance where he's trying to find that put-away offering that you talked about pregame, Ryan. Not a big strikeout guy in his career. Trying to finish off a new leadoff hitter in this Cuba lineup, and Alexander Vargas. So Isabella Arroyo-Barbuena available off the bench today. Talking with Ramon Mesa pregame today as Quantrill kicks and deals, and it's 3-2. He said, you know, we have seen some things with Quantrill and feel like the changes that we made in the lineup are good matchups for him. But Arroyo-Barbuena being out of the lineup today, that came as a surprise. 3-2. Vargas clubs one to right. O'Neill got a good jump on it. Leaping, he pulls it in on the warning track for out number 1. Let's take a look at that starting 9 today for Ramon Mesa as Vargas is retired on the flyout.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the changes. You see Vargas at the top of the line, but rarely seen him at all. You see Yoan Moncada, we know about his major league career. Look at that right there. This is someone he's very familiar with. Can give that quick little scouting report on that bench. 5 for 21 with a home run. But again, Cal Quantrill, we talked about this in the open. What does he do with 2 strikes? How does he induce that weak contact? And already you could see him get the 2 strikes quickly, but going nowhere near the strike zone. Has to come back inside the strike zone. And Vargas rips that ball into right field.
Exit velocity on that line out at 102 miles an hour. So anything but soft contact there, but Quantrill bounces back from the first pitch ball to Moncada. It's 1-1.
And you look at this, a true 6-pitch mix. He likes to have some variation on that fastball. He's going to throw a cut fastball, 4-seam, and a sinker. And he can be unpredictable too. Any pitch in any count. But speaking of counts, this is what's really hurt him the last couple of years. When he is behind in counts, opponents are hitting 400 plus against him. And that's top 10 when you're talking about anyone with significant starts. He got 20 plus starts. He is top 10 when you're talking batting average against when he's behind the count.
Even here at 2 balls and 2 strikes on Moncada.
And this is the difference. Look, it's very manageable when he can get into good counts like he has that first hitter in the second here. You get into good counts, you're going to be okay. Just induce that weak contact. You cannot slip behind 2-1s, 3-1s. That's where you're going to get burned.
It's a 3-2 count on Moncada. So already 12 pitches on the next one here to the first, not even 2 full batters that Quantrill sees. 3-2 on the way from the righty. Gets Moncada swinging and missing, so 2 straight retired to lead things off here in the bottom half of the first inning for Cal Quantrill. Defensively, largely the same look, but Matt Davidson over in at first.
And you see Toro Lopez on the left side. A couple lineup changes, but everything looks pretty similar. We know about Josh Naylor being a little bit more banged up. Obviously, he took that ball off the elbow. So you got that power hit, right-handed power hitter playing first base.
Speaking of right-handed power hitters, here's Ariel Martinez.
And just look back to Cal Quantrill too. Look, you're in a situation, you signed a minor league deal with the Texas Rangers, trying to bounce back and be a fixture in the big leagues. You're fighting for that 5th spot in that rotation with the Texas Rangers. Then all of a sudden you're asked to come pitch for Team Canada in a do-or-die game.
Loops one to right. That'll get down. And it is the first knock of the game for Cuba, and a 2-out base runner aboard.
Now we talked about the 6-pitch mix and the 4-seam, the sinker, and the cutter. They're pretty prominent. You're going to see that split. He throws it to both sides, righties and lefties, especially with 2 strikes. Trying to get that swing and miss. And the occasional curveball and slider to go along with it, but very unpredictable. Just about getting in some good counts, find that rhythm early.
And here is the veteran and always dangerous bat of Alfredo Despaigne, who has just a couple of hits so far in this World Baseball Classic, but one of those was a double. He bounces one over to third, where Toro will play it on the good hop, and that'll bring the inning to a close. Good start to this one for Cal Quantrill. We'll go to the second, scoreless in San Juan. It's the final day of pool play here in 2026 at the World Baseball Classic, and here is what is on the line for these 2 teams. You win today, you're on to the quarterfinals in Houston, and these streaks could end today or they could continue today. Canada has never made it on to the quarterfinal round. Cuba has never been bounced before making it on to the quarterfinal round. We had a conversation between Ernie Witt and a couple of members of this umpiring crew in the inning break, and Witt out immediately to talk with Trip Gibson. been an easy start to this game for this crew.
No, it's been a grind. And you can see here the 2 pitch violations. Part of this is just come and set too quickly when Josh Naylor wasn't making eye contact, and you can just see Yoel Moncada right there. That's interference, not getting out of the way. You can see Aldo Lopez giving a little shimmy to show exactly what he's talking about. But I'm telling you what, for Cuba to have a 0 coming out of that first inning, that is huge. And now all of a sudden, Ernie Witt's down on the field as we speak, trying to figure out something.
This is a different conversation than what we were zeroing in on earlier. Seems to be an amicable one, at least. Germán Mesa, in addition, by the way, to him calling all of his guys over to talk to his roster, he also was very animated talking with his first and third base coach, Cecilio Drake and Rafael Munoz. And, I mean, just trying to get everybody on the same page. And, Ryan, you get the feeling, you know, for Cuba, they are well served by being counted out. That's how it was in 2023. They made it all the way to the semis. You know, they had the pitch timer violation on a hitter for a strikeout a couple of nights ago. The pitch timer violations here. And I think Germán Mesa and his guys, they can feed off of that a little bit. Of, hey, we have all of this in this dugout. That's what we need to be successful today. Don't worry about anything else.
Yeah, some of the intangibles. And this is a team that is well-versed in tournament baseball on this stage, whether it's the World Baseball Classic or any kind of international play. That is for sure.
So Livan Moinelo will go to work again. 7-8-9 here in the top half of the second inning as Bo Naylor leads things off. The Cleveland Guardians left-handed hitting catcher, one of 3 lefty bats in the lineup. Also a switch hitter with Abraham Toro. Bo, to this point, 3 for his first 8. He has driven in a run. Lifts this one in the air to shallow center. Joel Santos' long run in is there to make the grab.
Keep an eye on that pitch count. 29 right now. You're in a situation where you just kind of roll over and let him get into any kind of rhythm. You know he's going to be going to 65. Obviously a short leash if things get out of hand, but if he gets in a rhythm, and I talked about this when he was in watching some videos of him, some of his starts back in Japan. When he gets in a rhythm, takes him maybe an inning or 2, man, he becomes unhittable.
Livan Moinelo went to Nippon Professional Baseball in 2017 when he joined the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks, as he squares off here with the Athletics' Denzel Clark, who snaps that bat at the handle and will stay alive to see another pitch. Moinelo in that season was part of the championship team for the Hawks, their first year of 4 straight titles and their third of 6 in 7 years. They have won 8 championships since 2011, and you look at the work he did against Panama. I mean, you talk about dynasties. The Hawks have been running Nippon Professional Baseball for the last 15 years. 59 pitches back on Friday, 38 for strikes from Moinelo, and he gets Denzel Clark swinging here, and now he's starting to find that groove.
Yeah, it really is. And look, we talked about that curveball a lot. We haven't seen that a whole lot just yet. It's been more of the 4-seam and the slider combination. This is the pitch, perfect spot, up and in.
Another element, Ryan, of getting that pitch count up is the ideal scenario today for Germán Mesa is you get Moinelo for, 4, maybe 5 innings. Then you can go to Rodriguez after that, and then Raidel Martinez to close something down. If you run this pitch count up early, there's a chance that we see different arms out of that Cuba bullpen. They've pitched well, obviously, but if you're a hitter, you would love to get a look at anybody who is not one of those 3 guys.
For sure.
So here's Edouard Julien with 2 outs and the base is empty. Julien struggled as the leadoff man, just 1 for 13 with 6 strikeouts. Now we got a pitch timer violation against the hitter. And another visit to the plate from Ernie Witt. Nope, Trip Gibson is not even going to hear it.
You know, it's interesting, Chip Gibson, Major League umpire, right? You get in the last couple of years, Julian's still letting him have it. If you're a Major League umpire, it's been a couple of years now, right? So you get that good rhythm of, like, everyone, from the pitcher to the hitter, everyone's kind of in that nice rhythm in the 8-second where you're making eye contact. Let's have a look here. And again, you could see Julian looking down, not making that eye contact. It won't matter anyway. He's going to be getting up to first base. But for Trip Gibson, he's used to having pretty much everyone he comes across in that rhythm. Now all of a sudden you have a situation where guys are not quite in that rhythm with the way it works, especially with the pitch clock and the making the eye contact and everything else.
Especially somebody in Moinello's case who doesn't work with a pitch clock in Japan. And now it's Otto Lopez's turn. Bouncer over 2/3. Yohan Moncada will throw him out, and that'll do it for Canada in the second. 1 on with 2 outs, does no damage. We're scoreless through 1.5. A lot of notable names around baseball, Cuban born but not on Cuba's roster. And yet, this team stands 1 win away from moving on to the quarterfinals of the World Baseball Classic for the 6th time in as many tries. We have looked at this graphic a handful of times, and Ryan, you just notice another name every single time it goes up.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, that guy was on this team, that guy was on this team. That is a superstar roster if you could build it with everybody. And even though Cuba has not gotten the opportunity to do that in the World Baseball Classic here in 2026, they still have a chance to move on to Houston and maybe make another run to Miami as they did 3 years ago. The first baseman, Yoel Yanqui, leading things off. You saw his prodigious numbers from the Cuban National Series in 2025-26.
And I still go back to 2023. It was just strange seeing Moncada, Luis Robert in that lineup, because we're just so used to seeing this this Cuban team being reclusive and having that lack of transparency. When just even the fact that we can go down and you spent the time talking to Germán Mesa today, that just was something that just wasn't the deal just going back just a couple years ago.
He was so gracious with his time. And yeah, it is really interesting to see. I remember covering a U18 Baseball World Cup actually in Canada several years ago, and going down to just get some information from Cuba about, all right, tell me about your starter, where is he from, all of that, and had to run it through a member of their delegation. They said, nope, not interested in having a conversation. And this has been such an era of change for Cuban baseball. And Germán Mesa, by the way, how good is that nickname? The Magnet, El Iman. That's a good one as well. A 2-time Olympic medalist. For so long as the 3-2 Yanqui ropes it, and Matt Davidson, first time in at first base as a starter, no problem on the quick reaction, 1 away.
We're seeing some loud contact in the first inning and now in the second inning. Cal Control trying to navigate through some of these counts. We talked about getting in good counts. The ball was ripped. Catcher's glove down there if you're Matt Davidson.
115.3 miles an hour off the bat.
Tyler was watching, Cal and Quantrill talking about him and getting settled in.
Edie Cape serves on out toward right center, and Tyler O'Neill cutting over will put it away.
And trying to get some of these quick outs. But that first inning took 35 minutes to get through, right? So you're antsy. I mentioned the backstory here with Cal and what he's done the last couple of years and trying to find his way back to be a prominent starter in the big leagues, signing a minor league deal with the Texas Rangers. But you're so antsy. You know what's at stake right now. This team, Ernie Witt and Team Canada, has never gotten through pool play. And it's all on you. You have to give everything you got for that start. They won the game last night. Bullpen's in good shape. However, you want to show up and perform, and that can be tough when it takes that long to get through some of these innings, especially watching LeVar Moinello going back and forth with some of the umpire meetings and everything else.
By the way, the conversation that Ernie Witt was having with that umpiring crew last inning was because of an issue that Canada was having with its replay equipment, and that has all since been ironed out, so all good there. Yoelqui Skibert with 2 outs and the bases empty. Takes that one on the outside part of the plate. And it's 1-2. Bear has been a mainstay in this lineup out there in right field, out of the 7th spot here today.
There's John Ryan, former punter for the Seattle Seahawks.
How about the Dunedin Blue Jays hat he had on, by the way? Day number 1, Yoelqui Skibert serving notice of what this offense was going to be built around as he smoked this ball out of the yard on a line drive to the right field corner.
That laser beam over that right field wall. And remember, going back to 2023, they were 0-2, couldn't get the offense going.
And here, some struggles early. 2 strikeouts, and we're done through 2. Scoreless through 2 here in San Juan as we look at some of the greats in Canadian baseball history. We saw a guy wearing a Jason Bay jersey the other night here in this ballpark. 2 members of this coaching staff, Justin Morneau, Russell Martin, Joey Votto, who everybody in the baseball world loves. Freddie Freeman, who was originally supposed to be on this team, had to pull off of Canada's roster in 2026 for personal reasons, and now we're going to deal with a pitch-com issue. This has been a wild start to this game. And Trip Gibson now signaling, well, pointing to the wrist seemed to be a signal for a pitch timer violation, but presumably if that was a pitch climb, no, that is going to be a pitch timer violation. That's the 3rd of the game already here in the top of the 3rd inning.
Man, we've had replay from that man right there, not working, down in the clubhouse. Pitch com, pitch clock, you name it.
First pitch swinging. Josh Naylor is retired on the put out there by Alexander Vargas, 1 gone. You know, Ryan, it's kind of interesting. Guys who are not familiar with this pitch com setup, you sort of wonder if it would be a little bit easier for Cuba to just say, we're not going to deal with it. We'll just use a signal system
for sure
traditionally. And there was a time a couple of days ago where it seemed like that's how Cuba was going to go as the first pitch misses upstairs to Tyler O'Neill. Moinello still out there doing the work. This is pitch number 40. And O'Neill laces that one to left field. It's down for a base hit. Second hit of the day for Canada, and it comes from the big right fielder for the Baltimore Orioles. A 1-out man aboard for Canada in the 3rd.
Again, that's that pitch, middle in. He can get to drive that ball into left field. Any chance that last at bat wasn't able to get to it. Tell you what, they're being really aggressive. We talked about for Moinello, don't let him settle in. And this is what he does. It takes him just a couple of innings. He starts going through, especially second time through the lineup. You start seeing more of that bigger breaking ball. I'll tell you what, this Canadian team, you got Otto Lopez swinging that first pitch for that 3rd out last inning. Josh Naylor first pitch. Tyler O'Neill swinging early in this count.
0-1. Abraham Toro flips this one out, and it gets past the lunging Kape and into right field. Yiddi Kape, I think, was going to try to play that on the loft because O'Neill was off of the first base bag, and then it just died in front of him.
This is a tough one off the end of the bat, and that ball just kept fading away from Kape, the second baseman. A tough pitch to get to, just snuck its way through the hole, especially off that bounce off this turf when it's side spinning like that.
Yiddi Kape has been really, really good in this event. I asked Armand Mesa about him earlier today. He said the thing I like about him is that he gets better as the game goes along, and he gets better game after game. That was just a weird play. Some strange spin on that ball. And it's 1st and 2nd now with 1 gone for the dangerous bat of Owen Casey. Walked his first trip to the plate.
And good at-bats already from young Owen Casey. Just not chasing. Left on left, tough matchup.
Only had 1 plate appearance against a lefty last year in the bigs. Had that double against the Southpaw last night in Canada's 3-2 win over Puerto Rico. Walked here in the 1st inning. 2 balls and a strike. O'Neill away from second, and Toro from first. And that one will skip away from Perez, and everybody will move up. And now O'Neill flying around third base, and Moinello had not yet broken to cover the plate. Tyler O'Neill will stay put there. The wild pitch puts 2 in scoring position.
Now, that was a fastball, 93, kind of handcuffed Perez, it looked like. Maybe had a little bit extra cut. Moinello's ball naturally has some of that cut to it.
Yeah, they'll actually rule that a pass ball on Perez. Nothing hurt yet for Cuba, despite some of the miscues in the early going. But now Casey.
I'll be shocked if he gets a fastball right here, Tyler, in this count.
Chance to deliver. He goes after one at 92.
All right, playing with fire. 3-2, you see Yariel Rodriguez again. We're not going to go all the way to lengthen that. Look at this, 47 pitches for Moinello.
Man. 3-2. Casey to right field. This will be deep enough to get the run in, presumably. Catch made out there by Guibert. Tagging at third. Here's O'Neill. Throw is offline. Tyler O'Neill scores. Owen Casey continues to deliver for Canada, and it's 1-0 in the top of the third.
Well, again, I talked about this the second last pitch. Moinello decided to go fastball against Owen Casey, and he missed it. Swung through a pitch further on the outside part of the plate. Then he goes middle in with another fastball, 92, and just enough. And Tyler, he's lucky he didn't do more damage with that pitch. But Canada able to get that first run.
Tyler O'Neill took a glance at him, and yeah, he kind of stutter-stepped down the line and then realized Guibert was coming straight home with it. Now Matt Davidson in the air to center field. And Royal Santos will camp out under it to put it away. But Owen Casey drives in the first run of this game, and Canada strikes first. 1-0 going to the bottom of the third.
Oh, what a catch and left by Santos. Ground ball right side and through as he extends Cuba's lead. 2 score, and it's 4-1. For the first time since 2006, Cuba's headed to the semifinals of the World Baseball Classic.
Cuba's improbable run to the semis in 2023, a victory at the Tokyo Dome over Australia, as this squad made its first appearance in those semis since they reached the championship game back in 2006. That was a really impressive rebound from struggles to start 2023 Classic for Cuba. As Andres Perez getting the nod behind the plate today, leads things off here in the bottom half of the third inning with his team trailing 1-0. And going to work against Cal Quantrill, Ryan, who has retired 6 of the 7 he's faced.
Yeah, we talked about being in good counts. 4 of the 7 hitters he's been behind in the count. That could be a factor, especially as he's going to face these guys second time through. But that little cutter has got him back on his feet.
Ball and 2 strikes here as Quantrill kicks and deals. Perez will see another one. Cal Quantrill was the 8th overall draft selection in the 2016 MLB first-year player draft by the San Diego Padres out of Stanford. Parts of 7 seasons in the big leagues. Made his debut with Cleveland, then with the Padres, the Rockies, Miami, Atlanta.
He was out there this morning bouncing around in full uni while the team was taking batting practice behind the cage down the left field line. Not the typical sitting in your locker with your headphones on.
2-2 and a check swing. Perez able to hold up. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
He's been attacking with that pitch too, that fastball at the top of the zone. You mentioned some of the teams last year making around $3.5 million with the Marlins, was let go. Braves picked him up, gave him a chance at the end of the year. They let him go.
3-2 on the ground, 2-2. 1 away. Well, Ryan, we know one of our participating teams moving on to the quarterfinals. That is Puerto Rico. And today, we've got some scenarios at play. Pool D, we already know the 2 teams that are moving on, Dominican Republic and Venezuela, but there is some chaos in Pool B.
I got to ask you, Tyler, would you rather be doing the math or would you rather a winner-take-all game?
I had enough of the math.
Yeah,
I had enough of the math 3 years ago.
Oh, man.
Or I should put it this way. Anthony Orza had enough of the math 3 years ago.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Our stud researcher, our crack young Jimmy Olsen on our staff, you know, from Superman.
I have no idea. Seriously, I don't know the reference. I'm not going to pretend I do.
1 away. Roel Santos takes ball one. You saw a fantastic catch by Santos in the quarterfinals against Australia back in 2023. He's been a mainstay on this team in recent years. Brian, obviously a whole lot of storylines going into that matchup tonight for Mexico and Italy. There's a bouncing ball over 2 second. 2 away. I will read directly from the MLB.com story by Anthony Castrovent so I make sure that I have it correctly. Assuming a 9-inning game, the United States would advance if Italy gives up 5 runs or more and loses. But Italy would advance if it loses but gives up 4 or fewer runs. With an Italian win today, they would win Pool B, and the U.S. would go through with them. 1 game ahead of Mexico. But if Mexico wins that game and scores the appropriate amount of runs, they're on. And the United States, in a World Baseball Classic shocker, would be dropped before the quarters. As we're back at the top of the order in Alexander Vargas. These two teams also playing for a spot to go to Houston. Puerto Rico has already punched its ticket to move on to the quarters. Top finisher from this group will face the second place finisher from Pool B and vice versa. 0-2 pitch. Nice job by Vargas to lay off that one that missed.
I'm curious here too. Second time through the lineup. We talk about some of the struggles he had last year and all the reasons why, but the other part, third time through the lineup. Has to stay unpredictable. You get plenty of that.
Vargas saying he foul tipped that pitch, but he did not. And he is down on strikes to end the third. Cal Quantrill looking really good. His team's got a 1-0 lead. A 4th inning of work for Cuba's left-handed starter, Livan Moinelo. Ryan, we've only seen 1 pitcher get through 5 innings so far here in Pool A, and Livan Moinelo, not a whole lot left of this leash to work with.
Yeah, look, if you can get to that 5th inning, man, you've done an amazing job with these, with this pitch count. But for Yariel Rodriguez and, of course, Raidel Martinez, right, you talk about bridging that gap, and there's no team really when you talk about the World Baseball Classic, especially in Pool A, where you have the Moinelo Rodriguez back-to-back, the piggyback situation that can really make it tough on an offense due to the fact that you got some of the pitch counts. But Tyler, you mentioned this earlier. I would not be surprised here if Cuba get a lead, or if the game stays the way it is. You see a Raidel Martinez coming in earlier than the 9th inning.
Leadoff man for Canada here in the top half of the 4th inning is Bo Naylor. He led off in the 2nd, flew out to center field. The simple equation here today in San Juan: win, and you are on to the World Baseball Classic quarterfinals. It was interesting, Ryan, we were talking earlier today with Ernie Witt, Canada's manager, about the dynamics of international play and how nice it is for these two teams that they don't have to rely on a tiebreaker formula. It's just head-to-head here today. But one point that Ernie Witt made that was really good, he said, I credit Greg Hamilton and our Baseball Canada staff because so many of our guys have already been through this in international competition. They've played on the junior national teams. They've played at the U15 World Cup. They've played in the Pan Am Games or Premier 12s. Bo Naylor goes down on strikes, 1 out. And obviously on the other side, for Cuba, that's very much the case.
Absolutely.
Livan Moinelo played in the Pan Am Games. He's been on Premier 12 teams. He's been at the World Baseball Classic. And so these guys know that international play is just different. You have to manage games differently. You have to play games differently. You're, sometimes asked to do things that you don't ordinarily do, laying down a sacrifice bunt, stealing a base, doing whatever. And there are so many things that you encounter in playing international competition and in playing tournament-style baseball that you just don't in the regular season.
Yeah, and again, that can be such a leg up, too. Again, we talk about every inning, every at-bat, but Ernie Witt, he kind of, the fact that having to do the math on the day and making sure that's confirmed before you go into that game. We saw this with the Australian team and the Korean team. Korea knew they had to get that extra run. Yeah, on the flip side too, like for example, Team USA, when was the last time you had to deal with a runs against. I mean, it would have been 13U travel ball.
Right.
Think about it.
Right.
Compared to these two teams, right? Whether it be Canada, these guys on this national program, this Cuban team. It's just such a different background in regards to dealing with that.
2 strikeouts to start things here in the fourth for Moinelo. His next pitch will be number 60. He could finish an at-bat if he hits that 65 pitch first round limit. He can finish an at-bat to go over 65, but he might not need to as he starts Edouard Julien with a strike. Looks to get his team through 4 in the start.
And we're slowly, maybe a little too late. Not that he's been hit around, he's given up the 1 run, but that breaking ball, right? We talked about that curveball. We're starting to see a little bit more of it as he got deeper into this game.
1-1, Julien foul. Ball and 2 strikes. Moinelo started this game with a weird first inning. Single, a walk to Josh Naylor that featured 2 pitch timer violations on the left-hander. Then an obstruction call on Yohan Moncada on an attempted double steal that put runners at second and third. Moinelo bounced back, didn't allow anything that inning. Julien serves this one to left center field. This could be extra bases as it gets down, and it splits Martinez and Santos. It is a 2-out double for Edouard Julien, and Canada is in business and will chase Livan Moinelo from this game, likely at the very most with 1 more hitter. We'll see if Herman Mesa lets him go, as he's at 63 pitches right now. And no, Mesa's going to come out and get him. So the day will end for Livan Moinelo on Edouard Julien's double. Canada has forced its way into the Cuban bullpen.
Well, it took a little bit for Livan Moinelo to find some of that groove. He had the first inning that took forever. But all of a sudden, man, attacking with that fastball. We didn't see the same breaking ball, Tyler, that we're used to seeing, that curveball. Finally got a punch out on that pitch, but man, he was good covering the amount of innings he did, especially after that first inning. And now he can hand the ball off to Yariel Rodriguez.
So it is Rodriguez to take over. 3 2/3 from Moinelo. 4 hits, 1 unearned run, although he is tasked with Edouard Julien at second. And you look at the numbers for Yariel Rodriguez last season with the Blue Jays.
Yeah, and you look at those numbers too. Look, 66 games, he only went 2+ innings 7 times throughout the whole season, was converted to the bullpen, and already in Pool A, he's pitched twice. He's gone 2 1/3 the first time out against Panama, and then he went 2 innings shortly after that. So, man, what a workload he's had as he's now a fixture in that Blue Jays bullpen. He's going to be asked to, again, get some length, bridge that gap. Former starter, he knows how to do that.
Otto Lopez trying to deliver here with 2 outs. And Canada is now 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. The 2-out double does no damage, and we head to the bottom of the 4th inning. Canada's got a 1-0 lead. Cuba's dugout getting ready to go for the bottom half of the 4th inning. A team that looks to move on beyond the first round for the 6th time in as many World Baseball Classics, and is one of the best teams in first-round play in the history of this event. Puerto Rico finishing its pool play round last night. 3-1 record. Canada and Cuba, whoever wins this game, will join Puerto Rico in the quarters and will match that record as Cal Quantrill gets a first pitch ground out. Ryan, Cal Quantrill's not even at 45 pitches yet here with 1 gone in the 4th.
Yeah, he is just in that nice rhythm, good tempo, throwing a ton of cutters in all different kinds of counts. Here's another one, in on the hands. Throwing that pitch over 40% of the time. Throwing 0-0, 2 strikes, 1-1 counts.
So 1 away for Ariel Martinez. Canada, with Martinez fighting this one off, he'll dunk it down into right field for a base hit. That is Cuba's first knock since the first inning, and that one was also a single flared to right by Ariel Martinez. Just the second base runner of the day against Canada's starter Cal Quantrill, and Cuba has something on in the bottom of the 4th.
It wasn't a bad pitch. Tried to pitch him in. I talked about it the second time through the lineup. It was a struggle last year. I'm curious to see how he goes about it as he's getting to the middle of this lineup with Despaign's second look. Tried to pitch him in last time. They're going to go back in there again.
Cuba's captain takes ball 1.
Well, that's the book too on Alfredo Despaigne, because he can shoot that ball to right center field. But if you're going to go in, he's done this plenty of times. You can't make a mistake middle in.
1-0, grounds it left side. Lopez, Julien, Davidson, got them both.
Big double play ends things in the fourth. Middle of the order, headed to the plate for Canada as we head into the top of 5 in a 1-0 game at Huron Bithorn Stadium. The final pitch of a 4-pitch inning for Cal Quantrill in the bottom half of the fourth. Otto Lopez had a little bit of trouble getting that ball out of the glove, and it ended up not mattering as they got the 4-6-3 off the bat of the big fella Alfredo Despaigne.
And the big reason why is Despaigne is running down that line. But man, you talked about that 4-pitch inning. You talk about keeping that momentum, clinging to that 1-run lead, but you can keep all that in your dugout. You get plenty of big smiles when you get right back in there after 4 pitches.
So here we go to the top half of the 5th, and a key spot in Canada's lineup coming up. 2-3-4. Josh Naylor leading things off against Yariel Rodriguez, and a couple of guys whose teams squared off in the American League Championship Series in 2025, although Rodriguez, as a member of the Toronto Blue Jays, was not. Man, this is Josh Naylor. This is the second time this has happened with Josh Naylor.
Yeah, struggling down here in Puerto Rico in the humidity. That eye contact, excuse me, that contact lens. What do you think? Is he wearing contact lenses? I'm trying to think if I've seen him rock the glasses ever.
You know what he does rock are some amazing pregame jerseys. He went with a Jerome McGinley Hockey Canada throwback yesterday.
Try not to whitewash that fact, but we still haven't gotten into the shoe collection either.
Yeah.
450 pairs of shoes. He rocks a different pair pretty much every game. He's done that this WBC, different pair every game.
Rocking those Jordan 1 spikes here today. Man, with the Maple Leaf flag on it too. Amazing look. Ariel Rodriguez, of course, was not on the roster for the World Series last year for the Blue Jays, but was on that ALCS and ALDS roster. And then in December, he was outrighted off of the Jays 40-man roster. It's kind of a surprising move, and maybe just as surprising that he cleared waivers outright. Nobody took a chance on him as Naylor tried to hold up there, unable to do so. And a first strikeout of the day for Josh Naylor. One away to send it to Tyler O'Neill.
Yeah, and getting Josh Naylor to swing through that, you think at some point he's going to factor in and come up clutch. That being Josh Naylor at some point in the day-to-day. Canada's still clinging to that 1-0 lead right now as we get deeper in this game.
Tyler O'Neill has scored the only run of this game today. Singled in the 3rd inning. Went to second base on Abraham Toro's single behind him. Went to 3rd on that pass ball. And then scored the unearned run on Owen Casey's sac fly. Ryan, this Baseball Canada national team at the senior level has had Cuba's number in recent international competitions. They knocked off Cuba in the 2021 America's Olympic qualifier in St. Lucie, Florida. They beat Cuba in Premier 12 in 2019. They beat Cuba in the Pan Am Games back in 2015. Tyler O'Neill was on that team. Ivan Moinello was on that team on the other side for Cuba. These are two very seasoned groups in international play, from Ernie Witt and his staff on down. 1-2. O'Neill in the air, to right. Guibert is there, 2 away. Yariel Rodriguez being trusted as the first man out of the bullpen in relief of Moinello, and he's been great so far here in San Juan.
Yeah, a ton of work too. You know about the secondary pitches? The split, that big breaking ball is going to change arm angles on you. We've already seen him pitch twice, and here he is on multiple innings. Again, just going 2+, 7 times out of 66 games last year with the Blue Jays.
So 2 gone and the base is empty for Abraham Toro. Toro 4 hits in his team's first 3 games. 3 of those for extra bases, a couple of doubles and a triple. He's also walked a couple of times, and he crushes this one deep to right. Abraham Toro doubles the lead for Canada. It's 2-0 here in the top half of the 5th.
I'll tell you what, Abraham Toro has been red hot in this pool play. We talked about his ability to hit the ball the other way to left field. We saw him start to drive the ball into right field, but nothing bigger than that. Reaching the seats here on this final day. And look at that, extra base hits. He's got 5 of them in tournament history. Up there, Canadians most in tournament history. But man, yeah, he is red hot. He's worked his way up the lineup. Comes up big right now, extending that lead.
He's got 4 of those extra base hits here in San Juan. 2 doubles, a triple, and now a homer to go along with him. And Canada sitting pretty right now with a 2-0 lead as Owen Casey waves and doesn't get a piece there. Toro now hitting .462 for the event, and 2 of his team's 5 hits today. And as soon as Rodriguez heard that come off the bat, he knew it was gone.
Yeah, this is a changeup, 90 miles per hour, just kind of floated, hung out right in his wheelhouse.
I don't believe that it is against the rules, but those guys with the Canadian flag on the right, I think that's just a target. I think that's, that was, 8 feet to their right. They almost got another one. They were present on day number 1. There they are. Our 2 guys who have been hanging out for every Canada game. They win over a couple of squads, the loss to Panama, and here they are with a 2-0 lead thanks to Abraham Toro in the 5th. We're going to the bottom of the 5th inning. Canada is out in front. Ryan, we talked a lot the last couple of days about Cal Quantrill being the guy to get the ball in this moment, and he has been masterful so far as he enters the 6th at 46 pitches today.
He's been outstanding. Look at that, 2023 through 2/3 was a nightmare for him. Getting a chance to rock that Canadian jersey. And again, we talked about 23 to 2025 as well. Some of the, the struggles he's had coming out to this, and sometimes you can anchor on that last game you threw for Team Canada and think about what that led into. Maybe didn't get enough time in spring training to get ready, whatever it may be. But I tell you what, man, if you don't think the Texas Rangers are watching this when he's battling out that 5th starting spot, you're wrong, man. They're paying attention to this, and this could definitely put him into a really good spot.
Ernie Witt even told us, his manager with this Canadian national team earlier today, he said, the only other time that he's pitched in the World Baseball Classic, it did not go well. And I know he would really like to get another chance. And he has taken it and run with it today as Indigo Diaz gets set to warm in that left field bullpen. Cal Quantrill has been magnificent so far today. That game in 2023 was against Great Britain, and that was a shocking loss for Canada. Enabled Great Britain to stay in the World Baseball Classic for this 2026 edition. They have also requalified for the next one. But Cal Quantrill getting his shot at redemption and not letting that moment pass him by as this ball is tanked, foul down the right field line.
Well, pay attention here. We talked about second time through the line for Cal Quantrill. The other thing is, too, remember, this time of the year, right, in March, it's to get up and down. You talk about the pitch count, it's like, well, his pitch count's in great shape. But to get up, get down, in between innings, it's very rare at this point in spring training that you're going back out for that 5th inning. So let's just watch and see how that fatigue level sits in as he's approaching this final couple of batters he's going to face here. But great job on Ernie Witt, making sure that bullpen's ready to roll. You don't want to get caught sitting on your hands here, and all of a sudden you look out the bullpen and someone's got to get moving within a couple pitches of an at bat.
He's already thrown more pitches in this at bat than he threw in the entire 5th inning. But he'll issue his first walk, a leadoff walk to Yoel Yanqui.
Well, one thing coming into this game we knew about, he didn't have that big swing and miss pitch, especially in 2025 with the Marlins. But fastball, he's been on the attack at the top of the strike zone, and that split, getting that pitch outside of the zone, well below it. Some swing and miss, some weak contact. He settled in nicely, but this is when you're at the end of your rope. That fatigue starts to settle in.
Man, that is the first time today that Cuba has a leadoff base runner, Ryan. And it's a big spot here for Yiddy Campe. Quantrill 3 strikeouts to 1 walk today. Here's the 0-1. Yiddy Campe has been so much fun to watch, and we talked about him earlier today with Herman Mesa. I noted this earlier. Mesa said, you know, the thing I really like about him is he gets better as the game goes along. Campe, I don't think Cuba really was counting on him to be one of the key bats in this lineup, but 3 for 9 with 2 doubles and a triple coming into the day today. But an 0-2 pitch is a foul at the plate. That'll keep him alive. But he has been really, really fun to watch, and not just at the plate, but in the field as well.
This is a big at-bat, already down 0-2 in this count. And again, you're starting to fatigue. You know you're at the end of your rope. Take that extra breath and just execute for these final at-bats you're going to get here in this World Baseball Classic Pool A.
Quantrill has not had to work from the stretch a ton today. He'll check over at first, and he throws that ball away. Yanqui falls down, but with so much foul territory, he can take second and maybe third. Yanqui digging for third base, and he's in there sliding safely. A crucial misplay on the throwing error puts a man in scoring position 90 feet away with nobody out in the 6th.
And what a break. Look, Canada's up by 2. I get it. Yanqui, they haven't scored a run yet. But for Cal Quantrill, who is in a nice rhythm, all of a sudden a leadoff hit. First time they've had a leadoff batter reach base. And now all of a sudden, now you got a runner on third with none out. You threw that ball away. You can't anchor on this play right now. You have to make these pitches. You could be a little bit frustrated. I know the fact that the at-bat changes a little bit. You still have an 0-2 count, and you have to bury this pitch and get that swing and miss.
So a monster spot now for Yiddy Campe. Ryan, like you said, you're not used to being out there in the 5th in March. And things are changing for Quantrill here as he nears 60 pitches. 0-2.
Too much of the plate for that fastball.
Also not having to work out of the stretch a lot. He got the double play ball from Despagne early in that count with Martinez at first. But other than that, he only pitched to 1 other batter from the stretch in this game. And he gets a big strikeout of Campe here. 1 gone in the bottom of the 5th.
And that's a huge pitch for a guy who just a few months ago was struggling to put hitters away and get that swing and miss. Yeah, that throw that ball away, frustrated, but then all of a sudden execute. And that's kind of, honestly, that's bought him another hitter, by the way. If Campe would have reached, I guarantee Ernie Witt would have been on his way out to the mound.
And the first pitch waved at and missed there by Yoel Guibert. Trying to become the 2nd pitcher in this group to finish the 5th inning. Here with the pitch count limit at 65 in pool play. The 0-1 off the plate.
And this is that moment, excuse me, this time when you're in your outing, you've been cruising to this point, just empty the tank, everything you got. Set everything aside, just keep executing, let it eat.
1-2 on Guibert. Ryan, the other thing too for this Canada team, you see a guy like Cal Quantrill go out and give you this effort in that dugout, especially if you get out of this inning and you've got the lead intact. The emotional lift that gives the guys around you to want to go to work and add to this lead because of what Cal Quantrill is giving you. As the 1-2 is grounded right side, that'll get the first run of the game home for Cuba. And RBI ground out for Guibert. The base is clear with 2 outs, but it's a 2-1 game.
Again, any other circumstance outside of the fact that you're playing in tournament baseball in Pool A, trying to get your way into that next round, you'd be like, you know what, I'll trade the out for the run, big deal. But Cal Quantrill is trying to get that swing and miss, expand the strike zone.
So 2 away, bases empty for Andres Perez. And this will be the final hitter for Cal Quantrill as he comes up on the pitch limit, which he can exceed to finish off a hitter. But if he does finish off Perez, he'll be through 5. Here comes pitch number 65. Strike 2.
Finish your day off right here with a swing and miss. Big punch out, feel good about it. Going back into that dugout.
1-2. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Cal Quantrill giving you everything he's got. On this Wednesday afternoon here in Puerto Rico. From Oshawa, Ontario to the middle of this diamond in San Juan, trying to finish off the 5th. 2-2 from Quantrill. Got him! Cal Quantrill roars to his dugout as he completes 5 and has his team out in front. We are ticketed for one heck of a finish here in San Juan. It's a 1-run ball game. Cuba out in front. Canada leads it 2-1 as we head to the top of the 6th inning here in San Juan. And we have to shout out our incredible crew, our camera guys, Dave Amundsen, Matt Babiak, Fernando Fernandez, Alex Frazzo, Alan Friedman, Eli Kiriakopoulos, James Nobles, William Rodriguez, and Jordan Sabo, who have done such amazing work here telling the story visually for this 2026 World Baseball Classic, game number 10. Here in our 6th and final day of pool play at Iran Bithorn Stadium, as the leadoff man for Canada with its 1-0 lead is Matt Davidson out of the 6th spot in the order. Davidson a couple of outs in the air today, a pop out to third base, a fly out to center field. He ended the 1st and 3rd innings. 2 runs on 5 hits and an error for Canada.
You're just waiting for him to just unleash. So a late start to the WBC was in the lineup first couple of days. Just straight stake hitter, killing it over in Asia. Did a mistake right here.
His numbers over in the Korea Baseball Organization for the NC Dinos have been ridiculous. Matt Davidson over the last couple of seasons, 2 years with the Dinos, 243 games, 216 runs batted in on 82 homers. And he does lift one in the air, foul ground, long run over there for Yoel Yankee, and that'll drop onto the warning track, and then Yankee drops into the first row of seats. Gets a hand from Cha-Chung Jong, our first base umpire.
I thought he's doing a double bounce on the backyard trampoline. You ever been double bounced, Tyler?
Oh, the worst. The worst. Get double bounced, you fly into the next hemisphere. Well, Yankee, there's also not a whole lot you can leverage yourself on, and that's a large guy to try to lift out of there. He's listed at 6'2", 220 is Yankee. Davidson pops it up his direction again, another long run. Perez gives chase, and this one's going to drop too. Ryan, we come across this a lot in the international games that we do. There's just so much more foul ground at international ballparks than there are at major league ballparks these days, which keeps a lot of outs as possibilities for pitchers and the team in the field, but also makes it do a lot of work, like Perez there. Yeah, Matt Davidson in his 2 seasons in Korea, 300 average and a 987 OPS. The other interesting thing that's coming into play here, Ryan, look at the shadows that are crossing the middle of the infield. This angular roof, such a distinctive design. And for Matt Davidson and the rest of these hitters, as this one popped up, and this is a long run for everybody, and it's dropped out there by Cape. Wow. We have been singing Yiddy Cape's praises. He and Alexander Vargas, a long run to get to that ball. And Cape, it seemed like, made a late call on it.
He was camped. You can see that little bit of that on your heels as that ball was approaching that glove. We've seen the wind play a factor. But he looked like he was camped right underneath that ball. So you catch that with ease.
And now, can Canada take advantage of this mistake? That is the 5th error in 4 games for Cuba. And, you know, talking about the shadows, we've talked so much about the wind as well. There are environmental factors playing into these games that, remember, they're not dealing with in any of the other opening round pools because they're all in domes. As Bo Naylor facing a 2-0 count. Trying to pick that ball up as it comes out of the sunlight into the shadows over home plate.
Good pitch right there, 2-0. And for a guy, Yariel Rodriguez has already pitched twice in this short format. When you talk about this Pool A, 27 pitches. Only threw 30 pitches, the second outing. He's at 27 right now. Fatigue could be a little bit of a factor for him as well.
Naylor fouls it back, and the count's even at 2-2.
And this is what we're talking about, Tyler. Okay, dream scenario, you pretty much have Yariel and Moinello eat up majority innings, but here are in the 6th. You're going to have to tap in a little deeper into that bullpen.
Rodriguez deals. Down and in, and that one skips away from Perez. And it's going to send Davidson to second. Now he's headed for third. The throw from Perez is not going to be in time to get him. Mistakes galore to start the 6th, and Canada has a leadoff base runner 90 feet away to try to erase the run that Cuba got back in the bottom of the 5th.
Oh man, you talked about all that foul ground. What about off that AstroTurf? The ball's just going to keep bouncing away from you with all that area behind the plate. And you think about it too, Matt Davidson had a couple of those balls he popped up into foul ground. They weren't able to get to both of them. Here he is standing at third base with none out.
Man, oh man. Big mistakes to get this inning started as Bo Naylor aims to bring home Canada's 3rd run of the game.
Yeah, look at Davidson. This is good base running. And he's checking out his third base coach. He said, just keep coming. That ball kept trickling away from Perez behind the plate.
Matt Davidson listed at 6'3", 230. He was rumbling around second, and now a foul pop. This one high, which could give enough time. No! Yoan Moncada gave up on that play completely, and Perez can't make it. And it is all falling apart for Cuba right now here in the 6th.
If you're Canada, you've got to capitalize on some of this. You mentioned Yoan Moncada just kind of giving up. That's his priority, right? When you're charging in like that, it is a tough play for your catcher with some of the angles trying to glove that ball. If you're Yoan Moncada, you've got to take control of that play and make that catch. And we've seen Moncada that first inning. Remember, we had the interference issue. Could have been costly. It cost Levan Moinello a ton of pitches and given Bo Naylor just another chance at the plate.
Here's the 3-2 pitch, and Naylor drives it down the right field line. That is extra bases for Bo Naylor. In is Davidson. Canada responds. It's 3-1.
Big smiles from his big brother Josh Naylor in that dugout. Bo, who did struggle last year with the bat as a Cleveland Guardian, comes up big right here in the 6th inning and gets that run back. Gets a pitch he can handle, middle of the plate. Eyes light up, drives that ball into right field.
We'll get a visit to the mound from the pitching coach on this Cuban squad, Jesus Bosmenier. Ryan, before the game today, Herman Mesa was asked in his pregame press conference about the lineup changes, and he said, quote, "We're needing offense for these games. We've disregarded it a little, the defense, but we're looking for production. We're looking for speed and players who can put the ball in play." And the changes defensively, at least partially playing into this top half of the 6th inning. The error, the wild pitch. We had an obstruction call earlier in this game. We've had a passed ball. There are 2 errors up on the board on Canada as Denzel Clark comes up empty there. It's 0-1.
And you can sit here and say, well, if Matt Davidson was at first base, potentially could have scored, or he'd be standing at third base right now with none in anyway. However, your mindset changes a little bit. If you're Yariel Rodriguez, you have to change the way you pitch into the hitter. So in a situation like that, all you're doing is putting more and more pressure on, number one, the defense, and especially two, a guy who you're hoping to get some length out of, Yariel Rodriguez. Now he's staring down 34 pitches, none out here in the 6th.
And that last part might be the biggest key. We're only in the 6th. Cuba, best case scenario today, was going to go Moinelo, Rodriguez, Martinez, and close out a trip to the quarters. Now they are probably going to have to look for different options in that bullpen to keep this thing close. The 0-2, and Denzel Clark fouls it to stay alive at the plate. No, did not get a piece of it, did get a piece of it. No, we're going to get, is that a catcher's interference call? It is.
Now he's
oh, he scooped the ball up with the mask? Wow, so that's going to advance Naylor to third, and Clark is on now. We have seen some things in this game that you don't see in a decade of watching baseball.
We're going to get another look at it. Swung and missed at it. Denzel Clark's got to hustle down the line. And you see him stopping that ball with that mask. Man, some of the unforced errors right here. Man, trapping that ball with the mask, you cannot do that, kids. Tyler?
I'm not good enough to get behind the plate anyway. But hey, I guarantee you there is a young catcher watching, and that moment will live with them for a while, because that's not something you see very often. And instinctively, you know, if you're Perez, you see that ball starting to sort of trickle away, you have that in your right hand. You just kind of go to stop the baseball. It's just kind of an instinctive move, but you can't touch it with that part of the equipment. Runner off from first, and Clark has second stolen easily. Second and third, nobody out for Julien.
And think about what Yariel Rodriguez is pitching with right now. Some of the frustration from his defense. Some of these mishaps. Easy jump. Rodriguez frustrated by the ball and strike call. Not even thinking about Denzel Clark. He's standing out there at second base right now.
Where exactly is the Bermuda Triangle located? Is that, is it part of that? Or in that?
It's right here, isn't it?
There's been some strange goings on today. 3 balls and a strike on Edouard Julien. And Ryan, the amount of games that we have done internationally where we have said something to the effect of teams that take advantage of mistakes are the teams that thrive in international play. Canada is on the verge of potentially busting this thing open here in the top half of the 6th.
See Andres Perez first start, getting a chance to be behind the plate. Ernie Witt questioning the count right there, but confirmed only 3 balls.
Confirmed, by the way, to the southernmost point of the Bermuda Triangle.
See, I knew that.
Island of Puerto Rico. I know you did. I was just testing your geographic knowledge. Shadows creeping across the mound now as Rodriguez either wants a visit from his catcher Perez, and now here comes Herman Mesa again. You know, I will say there have been some issues with the count on the video board throughout this week, and I think that's the confusion. The video board has it at 3-1, but it is a 3-2 count on Julien. They didn't get the first strike up there. It is 3-2 if I've got it right up here. Here's Josh Naylor talking with Greg Hamilton, the bench coach of this Baseball Canada squad, and Ernie Witt, his manager. And it has been a weird day for this Cuba team. Canada taking advantage and trying to bust this thing open in the pursuit of a ticket to the quarterfinals in Houston. It is a full count. Naylor at third, his cousin Clark at second. 3-2, and Julien has gone on strikes. That is a big first out in this inning for Yariel Rodriguez.
It really was. Frustration mounting. Not getting any help from your defense. Catcher behind the plate's not helping you out either. You come up big, get that huge out before this lineup flips over. It's going to be important here. You've got this open base. Let's get another look at this strikeout. Otto Lopez is so aggressive. Swung at the first pitch back in the second inning.
Goes after the first one here and fouls it back. Infield still pulled in with just one out. 1-1. Rodriguez deals. Lopez bouncing ball left side. That's past the lunge of Vargas and into left. In to score is Bo Naylor. Denzel Clark can fly. He scores two. And Canada has busted it open. It's 5-1.
And with everything going on in this inning for Cuba, at some point, especially with the infield playing in, I feel like there was just going to be that one swing of the bat that was going to break this game open. Getting to a place, Tyler, we talked about, you got to be heads up with some of this pitching with Livan Moinelo, Yariel Rodriguez, and that'll be it.
And that's it. Rodriguez's day is done. Canada breaking out in the top of the sixth. 3 runs already home for Canada in the top half of the sixth inning. And Ryan, how about Otto Lopez delivering again?
Yeah, coming up big. Look, I was talking about some of the at-bats earlier where it's just ultra aggressive. Yariel Rodriguez gave him a pitch he could handle, and all of a sudden Canada has busted this game wide open.
5-1 our score. 5 runs on 7 hits for Canada. And the captain of this team arrives here with a man in scoring position. And frustration for Yariel Rodriguez, and certainly understandably so. Defense letting him down in this inning. And Andres Perez is feeling it too.
Yeah, first chance he's had to start a game here in the WBC. See Gary Nunez. Big left, he can get that mid-90s fastball. Tough matchup if you're a left-handed hitter.
Only 2 of Canada's 5 runs to this point are earned for this pitching staff, as Naylor is retired on his second strikeout. And with 2 away, it'll bring up Tyler O'Neill, aiming to extend this lead beyond 5-1.
Good breaking ball right there. Known for that fastball, obviously 95, 96. Also, he's ticked back up after having Tommy John. His changeup against some of these righties is such a tough weapon for him as well.
Cuba has never missed the second round of the World Baseball Classic. The greatest program historically in international baseball from the top down. And they are down to 12 outs to go at the plate and 4 runs to make up. In danger of missing out on the quarters for the first time ever. Tyler O'Neill, everything in the air is dicey, and this time Yeti Kape puts it away, and that'll send us to the bottom of the 6th. But Canada has broken it open. It's 5-1.
Canada is 4 defensive innings away from its first trip to the quarterfinals of the World Baseball Classic if they can hang on to this 4-run lead. And as we move into the bottom of the 6th inning, Indigo Diaz, who is currently a member of the Arizona Diamondbacks organization, takes over on the pitcher's mound, on in place of Cal Quantrill. And Ryan, you pretty much quite literally could not have asked for more from Cal Quantrill today.
Yeah, he was absolutely outstanding. And look, we came into this game, he was a big question mark for me. I know about the experience, I get it. But has he been battle tested on this stage, right? A guy who's pitched a lot in international play. He didn't have that success last time out in 2023. Plus, he's coming off that rough year as a minor league invitee with the Texas Rangers, all that. And he comes out and he was so dominant, pitching 5 strong.
Diaz, big-bodied right-hander. He's listed at 6'5", 250. He's from Vancouver. This guy at the plate right now, Roel Santos, he was the leadoff man in the first 3 games of this World Baseball Classic. He went 0 for 10. And this offense just really struggling to come to life. A run on 2 hits.
And what a bumpy road. It's been a nightmare for this team with some of the defense that first inning. Some of the pitch clock violations. It's important for Indigo Diaz. Keep that rhythm, that momentum Cal Quantrill has created where he's been on the attack in the strike zone a ton. Come out throwing strikes out of that bullpen here in the 6th.
Diaz kicks and deals. Leaves it upstairs for ball 4. So a leadoff walk. And Cuba will see if that can get its offense on track. They had a leadoff walk last inning and able to cash that in. Yoel Yanqui.
And by the way, Tyler, we're talking about being battle tested, right? This Cuban team's been in this situation before. We've still got plenty of baseball to go as Indigo Diaz picks it up for Cal Quantrill. You see that fastball can get up to 97. Mentioned that big body's thrown right straight downhill.
Back at the top of the order, Alexander Vargas will get a visit to the mound here from Bo Naylor. Ryan, this Cuban team right now is hitting just 163 as an offense for the World Baseball Classic. And among all of their hitters, they only have 3 guys who are hitting over 154. Ariel Martinez has done his job, 5 for 11. Yeti Kape and Yoelqui Skiberic, 3 for 11, but nobody else with more than 2 hits.
And they came out of the gates too that first game, couple home runs. Yoel Moncada, he thought he was going to be a big factor early, and then nothing doing since.
Diaz kicks and deals. Came in too tight there on Vargas. 2 balls and no strikes. Indigo Diaz, as we noted, another guy from out west, from North Vancouver. He's got some experience pitching in his home country on the amateur stage. He worked in a league that you and I are very familiar with, the West Coast League. Collegiate Summer League for the Victoria Harbor Cats back in 2016-17. And his father actually has some Cuban heritage. And man, for Cal Quantrill right now, you look at the bullpen, you hand off this masterpiece, and it has got to be so anxiety-ridden sitting in that dugout as this one skied out to shallow right. O'Neill there to make the call on the catch. What is that feeling? First, let's look at what's been going on today for Cuba, because this has been so wild.
Yeah, this has been a mess. First, Kape, when we were singing his praises, you mentioned it, but I think the biggest ones was behind the plate, right? And obviously, Yoel Moncada needs to get to that ball, but we've seen this a little bit from Andres Perez. Let's not forget, too, he's 25 years old. First time having to start. He probably came into the game, to the ballpark this morning saying, hey, look, you're going to start today. And all of a sudden, man, control what you can control. That has not been the case for Cuba. And I'm telling you, this will haunt you if you walk away from this, not advancing to the next round for the first time ever. You'll go back to that 6th inning, scratching your head as to what went down. There's Andres Perez right there, who it just kept mounting for him behind the plate.
And you look at all those, that list of miscues as Moncada sends one up the first base line. That's a fair ball and down toward the corner. Rounding second and headed into third. Santos will wait there, and it's second and third with one out for Cuba here in the bottom half of the 6th.
I said this a couple minutes ago, Cuba have been in this situation plenty of times before, that's for sure, and all of a sudden you have the situation where you knock Cal Quantrill out of this game, reaches that pitch limit.
And Yoan Moncada slow to get up at second base. Didn't see what happened, but maybe just an awkward slide.
Yeah, we've seen these little injuries with derailing his campaigns at the major league level too, whether it's a hamstring or an ankle, whatever it may be for him, so that may be it.
They're gonna bring out the miracle spray. Did you ever use that growing up, the instant cold spray?
No.
I saw Herman Mesa actually they're just asking for a cup of water, I think, for Moncada. I'm wondering if maybe he, in that slide, just sort of knocked the wind out of himself.
Yeah, for sure. Just getting by the bag there at first base. Yeah, you might be right.
Seems to be okay now, as his first base coach Cecilio Drake will go out. But yeah, look at all these stints on the IL.
Right, and these are these injuries I was alluding to. You got the lower back soreness, the hamstring, the oblique, lower back again, the right thumb. Like all these little things that kind of derail you, especially too when you're trying to hit that ceiling. We've talked about Yoan Moncada's never quite gotten to that ceiling that everyone was anticipating these early days with the White Sox.
So here comes Ariel Martinez, who has 2 of his team's 3 hits today, and if he gives you another one, Cuba's right back in this thing. 2 in scoring position with 1 out, as Inigo Diaz finds himself in a tight spot in the bottom of the 6th. His first pitch is there for a strike. Asked you a second ago, you know, if you're Cal Quantrill, you're over there, you did such good work for 5, and now the tension of sitting there and knowing that it's out of your hands, you can see the nerves on Quantrill's face. He was terrific today as Diaz puts that one just low. In the bullpen for Canada is the Blue Jays left-hander, Adam Macko. Spent last season in the Jays minor league ranks, up with AAA Buffalo. The 1-1 from Diaz. 2-1. Hinge pitch there in this account, didn't miss by much. Cuba just has not found out a way to get its bats going. 2 of those teams have been relegated, but here's a shot to right field and a base hit. Martinez with a 3-hit day. He'll drive in just 1 as Moncada has to hold at third, but Cuba claws 1 back, and it's 5-2.
All right, on cue, you're flashing up that average for this Cuban team. Ariel Martinez, just too much plate. And for Inigo Diaz, I know he's a young pitcher. He's 27 years old. Time in the minor leagues, but again, too much plate with the open base. And a guy like Ariel Martinez. And again, this Cuban team is far from done. Still plenty of baseball left.
And here is Alfredo de España, who takes strike 1. Coming up on his 40th birthday this summer, a guy who has played 20 seasons of professional baseball in Cuba and in Japan. Waves and doesn't get a piece of that one. Ryan, over 10 seasons in Nippon Professional Baseball, he hit 184 home runs. He is the all-time leader in World Baseball Classic homers. And if you were to deposit number 8 right here, he would tie this game.
It's a good time for it. Been pitching him in. Cal Quantrill pitched him in first couple of at-bats. See nothing but sliders here against Diaz.
1-1. Check that. The 0-2, a called strike 3. Again, we had a video board clock issue, and you could see Despaigne kind of give it a second look. But he is gone, and that's a big second out. And for Diaz, one of those outs that really calms you down.
Yeah, for sure. This is a hanging slider. He got away with one right here. This is a pitch he was trying to bury down and away. He'll take it.
And that's going to do it. And you did sort of wonder if that would be the last batter with the left-hander warming for Indigo Diaz. So a pitching change for Canada. Adam Mako in next.
The most pivotal moment of this game has arrived for Canada. A 3-run lead. The tying run coming to the plate. 2 outs in the bottom of the 6th with 1 already home for Cuba. And the Blue Jays prospect, number 21 in their system, Adam Mako, will take over.
Yeah, this is where it might get a little dicey here for this Canadian team. You're going to have to match up. And how big was it last night? We talked to Ernie Witt about this. 3 guys covering those innings, making sure this entire bullpen is fresh and ready to go.
Mako deals his first one to Yoel Yanqui. Yanqui, that walk leading to Cuba's first run. That was opening last inning. And a leadoff walk in this inning coming home as well. 2-0 on him. Adam Mako, 25 years old. Told you his story the other night. A fascinating one. He was born in Slovakia, grew up partially in Ireland, and then played his high school ball in Alberta. Finds himself a step from the big leagues with Canada's home team, but he's run the count to 3-0 on Yoel Yanqui.
Yeah, unfortunately last spring training had a meniscus tear. Sideline got off to a late start, but you can see that slider, that changeup.
And the 3-0 is ball 4, and they are loaded up for Yiddi Cape.
In World Baseball Classic history, Cuba has twice had Grand Slams. Back in 2013, there's a familiar face. Jose Abreu leaving the art of the Fukuoka Dome in Japan. And another familiar face, Alfredo Despaigne against Australia in the 2017 Classic in the 5th inning at the Tokyo Dome. That was with his team trailing 3-0 in the 5th.
I remember I had a front row seat to that. It's heartbreaking. Had a chance to go on to that next round for the first time ever.
Canada's got that same chance today. And Yiddi Cape, who made a crucial mistake out in the field on a dropped catch on a pop-up off the bat of Matt Davidson that kicked off the 3-run 6th for Canada. He's got a chance at some redemption right here. His manager told us pregame today, Yiddi Cape just gets better as the game goes along. And Cuba needs him. 0-1, he yanks that one foul. Yiddi is a prospect in the Marlins organization who has been a steady bat throughout his team's first 3 games. Mako ready. Deep breath in the 0-2. Got him! Monster strikeout for Adam Mako. And Canada wriggles out of the jam in the 6th. 1 run home, but a 3-run lead for the visitors as we head to the 7th in San Juan.
This is a huge strikeout from Mako in this situation. Right after a 4-pitch walk, so he has to go to those secondary pitches. Goes to that slider, that changeup, and then that big curveball. This is so good, Tyler. You got loaded bases. You're not quite all the way there yet with the command. Against Cape, you can make some really good contact. He gets that big out and shuts down that threat from Cuba.
Monster work by Adam Mako. As Cuba able to claw one run back, but they leave them loaded in the bottom of the 6th. And as we move into the 7th, the guy with one of the biggest swings of the day today for Canada, Abraham Toro, solo homer in the 5th. 2 balls and a strike on him. We have a new backstop into this game for Cuba, as you see the 2 arms throwing in the bullpen down the right field line. Andres Perez's day is done behind the plate, and Omar Hernandez has taken over. Not a day that Andres Perez is probably going to remember too fondly.
Man. Yeah, he was really struggling. Again, look, Carpe dropped that ball in at second base. You got Yoel Moncada not staying with that play.
Bouncing ball. Check that, a popped little liner over there left side.
But then the game just got a little bit too big for Perez behind the plate. First started this WBC, young catcher, probably feeling that pressure a little bit. Got handcuffed on the ball from Livan Moinella early on in the game. His day is done.
Andres Perez, one of the few guys on this roster who is solely a Cuban National Series player in his career. But Hernandez now in there. As you look at Owen Casey's numbers, 6 for 12. Today, he has done his work without having to put the bat on the ball. Had a walk in the 1st inning, a sacrifice fly to bring in the 1st run of the game in the 3rd. He then struck out in the 5th. Another tough left-on-left matchup for Casey. Man, you got to be excited about him if you are a Miami Marlins fan. He's going to be a mainstay before too long. That one in tight, 2-2.
And that right there, the ability to lay off these tough left-on-left pitches, these breaking balls. We saw him do that to Livan Moinella and then attack that hitter. That's going to be the difference for him. I'm saying it all tournament long for Owen Casey. Everyone's getting excited. You mentioned if you're a Marlins fan, the difference will be, can he cut down on that chase, get pitches back inside the strike zone and take advantage.
Drives that one foul the other way. So yet again, if you're joining us here in the middle stages of this game, it is very straightforward. Win and you're in. For Canada and Cuba, as Owen Casey thought he had ball 4, instead takes strike 3. He is gone, 2 away in the 7th.
They've been a little too selective on that 3-2. Fastball down and away. Good pitch. There's really nothing you can do. You got to tip your cap on the black fastball.
Big time for a potential shutdown inning here for this Canada staff, this Cuba staff rather, to try to get back into the dugout and go to work after manufacturing something in each of the last 2 innings. Arian Nunez. Two 2-0 count on Matt Davidson. Pitch to hit there and fouled it straight back at 94. Good take there by Davidson. 3 balls and a strike. Davidson comes up empty on the 3-1. Nunez, over 5 seasons in the minor leagues, put up a sub-3 ERA in 101 appearances between the Dodgers and Giants organizations. He's now 32, pitching in Mexico, and Davidson stays alive there as he fouls that off. Davidson got the 6th inning started, reaching on the error charge to Cape on the drop pop-up. (3-2). Ball 4. Patient work there by Matt Davidson. He's a 2-out base runner in the 7th. So now a chance for Bo Naylor. Crank the RBI double to right field to plate Davidson. You know, Ryan, the other interesting thing in that inning, I mean, Matt Davidson, and you pointed it out, the great hustle from Matt Davidson on the wild pitch, but you don't know how things change in that inning as well without just that, because that's another one of those emotional lift plays where your guys see that.
Right.
And it just helps everybody else lock in a little bit more in what turned into a 3-run inning.
Yeah, again, not to mention too, with Bo Naylor getting the double right after, but
Naylor sends this one in the air out to left. Martinez will set up and put it away. And that'll do it for Canada in the 7th. We have hit the stretch at Iran Bithorn Stadium, and Canada has a 3-run lead over Cuba. After the 7th inning, and a familiar arm to Canadian baseball fans takes over on the mound. It's the big lefty, James Paxton.
And good to see James Paxton back out there. Remember the first outing he had against Panama? It was shaky. Had some defensive mishaps. He was involved in a couple. He felt like the game kind of sped up a little bit. He is retired now. I mean, talking about fresh off the couch too. I mean, a guy who was just literally throwing bullpens before this World Baseball Classic. Gets another chance here against Cuba.
Yoelqui Skibert, the leadoff man.
And Tyler, remember, Ernie Wick came out mid-at-bat, took him out with 49 pitches to have him available for exactly this situation. He even mentioned him before the game today.
Yeah.
He said, who bullpen, he had all those arms down there, everyone's fresh. And he mentioned James Paxton straight out of the gate.
I'd love to get Paxton an inning. And, you know, the nice thing about having somebody like James Paxton right now is if he is really effective, there are no restrictions on James Paxton. I mean, obviously, other than the actual tournament pitch limit, but if you feel like James Paxton is really working well, he can go multiple innings. Ernie Witt, Craig Hamilton, and the guys sporting the maple leaf trying to get this thing over the line. And a called strike 3 as he freezes Guibert for the first out of the 7th.
See him pumping that 95. And this is what I'm talking about, going back to that game against Panama. It was good to see James Paxton coming out of retirement to wear the maple leaf. But this ball right up the middle, he kind of got caught in between. He wasn't backing up home. Again, it's been a while, right? He's had some time off, being a dad, retired. You can see him getting taken out there mid-at-bat at 49 pitches. I asked him today, I said, how's your arm feeling after? You know, he said, all good, ready to roll. Pumping 95 to get that punch out.
No balls and a strike on Omar Hernandez, who's taking over for Andres Perez behind the plate. Big Maple kicks and deals. That one's just inside. Hernandez, first at bat of the day, 1 for 11 so far here in the Classic. That was part of the reason behind the move to go with Perez in the start today. Ron Mesa and his coaching staff gambling with a couple of lineup changes. So far, has not worked out the way they had hoped, but a walk for Hernandez goes on to set it up for Roel Santos. Wow. That is very impressive work.
All right.
They couldn't build a tower because it's on the dugout roof. I don't want to obstruct anybody's view. We already had one obstruction call today. Can't have it on the fans also. That is goodness gracious. Getting some work done. Good for those guys.
Representing Canada, boys.
I guarantee you.
Hey, not to mention, by the way, I mean, look, if this lead stays, I mean, that might be celebrating.
Yeah. Or they could be headed to Houston with these guys.
That's true.
I guarantee you, though, every one of those guys in that group has sent a picture to somebody back home and asked them what the temperature was. We're having fun down here. Look at all these Puerto Rican beers we've been drinking. That's over 3 beers per inning. Grounder out too short and a nice play. Oh, but the dig on the other side is knocked down by Davidson, who's now going to try to nab Hernandez, who takes the extra base. And defense again playing a factor. A tough play for Otto Lopez. It's 1st and 3rd with 1 away.
And again, Pax, the game's going to speed up on him a little bit here with some runners on base, but you have to, look, Santos is 38 years old. We know about the wheels, but you're still going to get rid of that ball quick, Otto Lopez. Davidson just couldn't glove the ball on the other end.
Lopez kind of short-armed that throw. I don't know if maybe he had trouble getting a grip on it. We saw the arm that Otto Lopez possesses on the relay throw to cut down Enrique Bradfield Jr. And we're going to get a pinch hitter here. Back at the top of the order, one of the bigger bats that Cuba left out of the lineup to start this day, Arizbel Urobarrena.
Yeah, hit this huge home run into the teeth of this wind that they've been copping every day, blowing in. Ball was crushed. Yeah, a little surprised he was not in the lineup. Some swing and miss that go along with that home run. And here he is, pinch hitting against James Paxton.
He is the tying run right now. And he fouls the first pitch back. That home run, Cuba's biggest fan, hanging out behind home plate today, as he has been pretty much every day. That home run is the only hit of the Classic for Urobarrena. He has walked a couple of times, but he has also struck out 6 times in 9 at-bats, Ryan. For James Paxton, you'd love either that or ground ball even more so right here. 1-1, runner off from first, and a tapper foul will send Santos back.
We'll question what kind of velocity we would get from James Paxton. He has been upper 90s at points in his career. Flashed to 95 today. See if he climbs the ladder right here and gets a little 96, 97 action. You get that swing and miss from Urobarrena.
The 1-2. Down, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Arizbel Urobarrena was the first player to ever defect from Cuba and then return to the Cuban National Series and the Cuban baseball system after defecting. He did that in 2019. Originally signed with the Dodgers in 2014, and he waits on a big one here from Paxton and goes after it and can't catch up. 94 from the veteran lefty James Paxton, and a big second out in the 7th.
Well, Tyler, wasn't 96, but still plenty of velocity from that low 3/4 and just on the attack. Look, I know he had a rough 6th inning against Panama, but still just on the attack mode. You can see these Cuban fans. And that's huge, right? Again, we talked about him coming fresh off the couch. Game speeding up. All of a sudden you get that big punch out. Settle in. It's not going to work right here. Get that big third out here and get your team back in the dugout.
It doesn't get any easier as Paxton has to go through Yohan Moncada. And the 0-1 is waved at and missed. Moncada, too, had a home run on day one of this event. But he finds himself down in this hole, no balls and 2 strikes.
You get right back up there. See James Paxton elevate. Let it eat.
Here it comes. Got him! James Paxton strikes out the side in the 7th. And Cuba leaves a pair. We head to the 8th. Canada 6 outs away from its first quarterfinal trip. It took just 3 pitches for James Paxton to dispatch Yohan Moncada on a strikeout for the final out of the 7th as the tying run at the plate. And as you come inside here on Bithorn Ballpark, one of the islands of enchantment here in Puerto Rico and the capital of baseball on this island here on Bithorn Stadium. A new arm into the game for Cuba. Yohan Lopez takes over and Denzel Clark bounces one out to short where Arizbel Arubarwena just into this game may have gotten the out. Denzel Clark bursting across the first base bag, immediately turned around and pointed. Now granted, we see that a lot, but Denzel's already taken off the leg guard. He feels like he was safe at first. And Canada will immediately go for the challenge.
We're getting out a look at it.
Yeah, he's safe.
Yeah, he bit it. Arubarwena, the ball will find you when you come into the game for the first time. Kind of sat back on his heels. He cannot do that again with Denzel Clark getting down that line.
Yeah, that came off the bat, and that first big hop made you think, oh, I don't know if they're going to have a chance to get him. We've got 5 errors already in this game. That one probably not going to go on the scoreboard as an error, but Denzel Clark.
I want to go back to this. We talked about James Paxton. What kind of velocity we were going to see? Low 90s, but all of a sudden he goes 94, 95, and then this one, 96. Just keeps climbing the ladder, fired up.
And again, when we talked to him on Thursday at the workout day, Ryan, he said, how you feeling? What's the velocity look like? He said, 92, 93 in the bullpen. You said, I think you'll get some 95s. And he said, you think so? Bouncer out towards second. Cape to Arubarwena for 1 and back to first in time to get Julien. So the 4-6-3 double play erases that leadoff infield single. 2 gone and the bases are cleared.
And you feel like every mishap that's happened with this Cuban defense has come back to bite them. They're quickly wrapping that up. Little ground ball double play. And no action in that Canadian bullpen either, so you think James Paxton will be getting back out there. We showed, again, I keep going back to this. When you are coming out of retirement, he's up there living in Seattle, throwing some bullpens. I know he threw in one of the exhibition games. But man, you're going to second guess everything you do. The game's going to speed up. You're not quite sure how you're going to look, if you're going to get that right release point, if everything's going to sync up. It just takes a couple of games, I'm telling you. We saw that first game, a couple 92s, 93s. Slider was a little flat. Obviously the defense behind him. But man, this Canadian team is in a good spot with the way James Paxton looked that last inning.
Ball and 2 strikes. On Otto Lopez is James Paxton. I mean, just as calm and composed as can be. Lopez deals the 1-2. Lopez will hold off there. Yohan Lopez, another guy who comes at you with that whippy arm action. 6'3", 208. Long limbs as Lopez fouls this one away. He is from Nueva Gerona. Working against the guy who's got 2 hits and 4 trips today, including an RBI single in the 6th. Otto battling here. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
If you're a Marlins fan, you're used to seeing this, man. Otto Lopez just makes such good contact. Yes, he's aggressive. There's some questionable at-bats, but man, he can reach those pitches well outside the strike zone.
Pitch number 7 coming up to Lopez is off the plate. He'll see an 8th. The 3-2 rather is high as well. And that is ball 4. Continuing to tell you about our incredible crew here. Seth Ivory, Sam May, Anthony Orza, and Antonio Slater, our graphics ops. Look at that handsome group of gents down in the truck downstairs. Carlos Gonzalez, Tom Lynch.
By the way, that was day 1. After listening to you and me for a full week.
They are
they're
haggard
not smiling
now.
Yeah, that's right.
They haven't smiled in almost a week. Josh Naylor fights this one off the hands, falling quickly in left, and on comes Martinez, who can't make the catch. Rounding third base, here comes Lopez to the plate. The insurance run is in on the flare off the bat of Naylor, and Canada adds a 6th run. It's back to a 4-run lead.
I said at some point Josh Naylor is going to come up big. Wasn't the hardest hit ball, that's for sure, but for Ariel Martinez, look, great effort right here trying to make this play and just missed out on catching, but bounces off that turf. And unfortunately for him, you see that ball just sneak away, and the speed of Otto Lopez able to score.
Man, and he had it in the glove too. And the contact on the slide jarred it free. And now here is Tyler O'Neill, who with one swing could really break this thing open.
And the hard thing is here, look at Otto Lopez. Got a good jump with 2 outs, right? So obviously with 2 outs, you can't be screaming around the bases. Look at Ariel Martinez.
Back out to second, and an easy play there for Cape. We head to the bottom of the 8th. Canada gets a run back and reinstates a 4-run margin. Story of missed opportunities today for Cuba if they can't rally here over the final 2 innings at the plate, Ryan. They left 5 on base between the 6th and 7th, and we talked in the open today about how well they've been playing when they were getting help from the long ball. And if you have big spot homers, obviously you're going to be able to do some damage at the plate, but even just some hits into the gap, things that are falling in the outfield, we haven't seen any of that from Cuba today.
Yeah, it's been feast or famine, especially those first couple of games. And again, we got to keep going back to 2023. Just nothing doing the first couple. And they started to light it up a little bit, but man, just a ton of swing and miss. Aruba Reina's out of the lineup. Think about that. He pinched hit obviously today, but big reason why is because the swing and miss. We haven't seen that from this Cuban team a whole lot throughout the years. And not to mention too, Cal Quantrill was brilliant, but he's not known to generate that swing and miss. He racked up 5 strikeouts against his team.
Broken bat, bouncer over 2/3. Some weird spin on that ball, but Abraham Toro sticks with it, and Martinez is retired for the first time today.
Yeah, just look at this game breakdown here. Panama, Colombia, and Puerto Rico. Look at the runs in scoring position. 0 for 4 against Puerto Rico. That was that big game for them just a couple days ago. And the home runs too. The 2 home runs against Panama out the gates early in that game. You're thinking, okay, here we go. This is going to be an onslaught. It's gotten worse and worse since then.
This is sort of the inverse of what we saw 3 years ago, Ryan, where Cuba started 0-2 and looked so disjointed and out of place in Taichung, and then they brought everything together and they finished with 2 wins in their final 2 games there, made it through the quarterfinal, beat Australia, made it to the semis. Here they started so strong those first 2 days and they've just kind of splintered since then.
Aging roster, not playing that sound defense, beating themselves, and plenty of that right there, swing and miss.
And that is a World Baseball Classic legend, Alfredo Despaigne, who goes down yet again, and that drops Despaigne to 2 for 14 with a couple of strikeouts here in San Juan.
And on the flip side too, I mean, you can't say enough about this Canadian pitching. This was the question mark, right? Like coming into this, we talked about their offense being their biggest strength. They had struggled in the past from a pitching standpoint. Then they get to day 6 and you got Cal Quantrill, big question mark because of what he did last year in the big leagues. And not to mention you got a guy in James Paxton who essentially coming out of retirement now just in an absolute groove.
Well, Yankee took that pitch for a strike and smacked himself on the helmet, frustrated to have not gone after it. I did that earlier for the 17th time that I've just said Canada or Cuba when I meant the other one in a matchup. 2 of our 3 C teams here. Colombia departed yesterday. As you look at the work that has been done on the mound for Ernie Whitt's pitching staff. And again, Ryan, this is a team that in the first 5 World Baseball Classics was one of the worst pitching staffs in every single edition.
Yeah, and you get the additions of obviously Jamison Tyone signs on to come here with Canada. You get Michael Soroka. But the question was, how do you bridge that gap, right, to finish these games off? You get 5 innings from Cal Quantrill. Got a little dicey there after that.
Never in World Baseball Classic history has Canada made it past the first round. They are on the verge of doing that here today. But look at that. The first 5 tournaments, a 7.63 staff earned run average. And there exists a pretty realistic possibility. Look at that
future
moment.
Canadian first baseman. Left-handed swing, of course.
Of course. There exists a scenario in which Canada makes it through and its North American rival, the United States, does not. The first time Canada has not been in the same group as the U.S. in the opening round, and they are 3 outs away from Houston. On lead for Canada, looking to pat it in the top of the 9th. Some more of our incredible crew here in San Juan in the tape room. Our tape producer, Emily Mastroboni. Lead EVS, Alicia Herzog. The legendary, world-famous Franktown, Colorado zone, Jock Hinkle. Toli Skurakovsky and Keegan Wilson. Our support staff, Francisco Gutierrez, Fernando Ortiz, Rodrigo Perez, and Albert Alquist. And as we head into the top of the 9th, one of the most amazing arms on this Cuba pitching staff is pitching in the 9th inning, but Ryan certainly not in the situation he hoped for today.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously trying to bridge the gap to this man right here, Rafael Martinez, dominating the NPB. Talk about how if that arm could translate to Major League Baseball, and there's no doubt it could, but not in this situation where it's 6-2 Canada.
Ryan, this crew that we have gotten a chance to work with here in San Juan has been so world-class, and we're shouting them out for a reason. As Abraham Toro skies one out in the air to left. This is a long run again for Martinez, and again the wind playing tricks, and nobody makes the play, and everything is falling apart for Cuba in the field here on the final day of Pool A.
Wow. Yeah, this is stunning right here. Yeah, I mean, you could talk about the wind if you want, but right here, well, you need to have this. Obviously, the priority here is the left field. Rubarena just kind of gives up on it, throws his hands up in the air.
And that's not a good feeling.
It's not. It's not a good look either.
Yeah.
Especially when you're down 6-2. And, I mean, going to get bounced out of pool play for the first time.
Rubarena, when he came in as a pinch hitter, sort of looked frustrated as well to not be in the lineup today. And you understand that, certainly. But, man, you're still in this game. It's a 4-run game in the 9th.
Absolutely.
So it's a leadoff double for Toro. And now Owen Casey will try to cash that in. 1-1 pitch, tap foul. But just to put a bow on that, the crew, we could not, when our producer Chris Brazy called each of us a few months ago to talk about coming down here, he said, we're going to put together an all-star team for this crew. Right. And I could never have envisioned just how good a crew could be until we worked with this crew. This has become a family for us over the last 6 days. As the 1-2 is fouled away by Casey. And we are so lucky to get to work with this group here in San Juan.
Right, and Tyler, you and I both know we've done these events a ton. We've worked with different crews and different people, that is for sure. But you come in, you got double headers, there's long days, there's so much prep, there's the research, the all kinds of preparation to get this done. We are so grateful and so fortunate.
Rip right side, Owen Casey comes through yet again. Rounding third, here comes Toro. It's 7-2 Canada in the ninth.
Man, Tyler, that's the knockout blow right there. You're facing the Cuban team that looks absolutely defeated. Right now it shows on the field. And then you have Owen Casey, the hottest bat in this Canadian lineup. And you're literally throwing pitches down the middle against Rydell Martinez. 7-2 Canada.
And the first pitch is there for a strike to Matt Davidson. I think the thing that has to be most frustrating for Cuba right now is you've got a guy in Herman Mesa who played during the glory years of Cuban baseball, and these are the things that Cuba did not do in that era. As a grounder out to short, 6-4-3 double play. That's really nicely turned there by Rubarwena and Yiddy Capi. But Cuba was always so flawless, and that was the thing about them. They came in, there was this mystique about Cuban national teams. You know, we talked about this earlier, from about the 1960s on, for 50 years, as Owen Casey has taken over the tournament lead in Canadian baseball history with 9 runs batted in. But Cuba was first or second in every single major baseball international competition from the 1960s through the 2004 Olympic Games. And they just did not make mistakes like this. They played fundamentally sound baseball. They capitalized on opportunities. They took advantage of your mistakes, but they were not the ones making the mistakes. And you know that. You saw this team in the Olympics.
And again, there's always that just never quit mentality. But again, just you mentioned that Rubarwena walking to the plate, kind of shaking his head, right?
Yeah.
There's a certain energy that goes on, especially when everything is magnified in these tournament-style games. When you have that, when you rock up, when you get on the bus, you rock up to the ballpark that afternoon or whatever it is, and you're carrying a certain presence around from one of your veteran players, I'm telling you, it trickles and creates a ripple effect and trickles throughout the entire team.
So here's how things sit. If Canada gets 3 more outs in the bottom of the ninth, they will not only move on to Houston, but they will capture first place in Pool A. They would be the top seed coming out of here via that win over Puerto Rico last night. So they would match up with the second place finisher in Pool B. And again, the United States, Italy, and Mexico all still alive to move on there. 2 of those 3 teams will come out pending the result of Italy and Mexico tonight. But you can see, I mean, that elated energy in the third base dugout. They are ready to explode. 1-1, Naylor out to second. Cape is there, and Canada will try to close out its first ever trip to the World Baseball Classic when we return in San Juan. Welcome back to the 2026 World Baseball Classic. Alongside former Major Leaguer and 2-time Team Australia pitcher Ryan Rowland-Smith, my name is Tyler Maughan here in San Juan, Puerto Rico at Hiram Bithorn Stadium for our continuing coverage of Pool A. And very possibly, dare I say likely, the final time we welcome you back to Hiram Bithorn Stadium. It is a 5-run Canada lead as we go to the bottom of the 9th inning. And it is James Paxton back out there on the mound for his squad. He'll go to work against Malcolm Nunez, a pinch hitter, to take the at-bat in place of Yiddy Cape. And it's 0-1. This is the first at-bat of the tournament for Malcolm Nunez. And how about that, Ryan? You're here for almost a week. You come in, you face a big league veteran who's throwing 95-96. Tough draw for Malcolm Nunez.
Yeah, and this is just some sort of flip the script from this Cuban team, right? A little bit of desperation. Trying anything they can to generate some kind of momentum against a vintage James Paxton, who's turning on here for his 3rd inning of work.
Paxton through his first 2, allowing just 1 hit. He struck out 4. 1-2 pitch. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Let's not forget, too, look, 49 pitches, on Sundays. He only had the 2 days off, right? He's been a starter his entire career, where you usually have that pitch and the 4 days in between minimum. Here he is trying to get his team 3 outs away to their next round.
Look at the numbers for this pitching staff. Just amazing work done here by the guys in red, white, and black, and he dispatches Nunez 1 away.
Again, just owning the inner half of the plate for James Paxton. Big maple, big lefty, bearing in on some of these righties, but let's look back at the strikeouts. That glove side fastball, and again, we talked about the velocity, right? 92s, 93s, and all of a sudden 94s turning into 96. Punch some tickets.
Ryan, this is a potentially monumental win for Canadian baseball as you look at that last strikeout for James Paxton. I mean, just freezing Nunez.
Right.
And again, like, what a tough draw for Malcolm Nunez, first at bat of this World Baseball Classic. But we showed you the footage earlier of Canada's win over the United States in the first ever World Baseball Classic. That's the previous biggest win for Baseball Canada in this event. But you win this game today, and you move on to the quarterfinals, there's a very, very good possibility that we see Canada in Miami for the semis. 2 gone, another strikeout, the 6th for James Paxton.
Yeah, it's really all come together, right? This offense. And especially, look at this slider right here. This is absolutely nasty from that low 3/4, left on left. No chance.
And here is Omar Hernandez. Did not get the start in this game. Goes first pitch swinging and fouls one back, and it's 0-1. The type of win that Baseball Canada has been dreaming about for 2 decades in the World Baseball Classic. And they are 1 strike away from it. For all of these guys who came through the junior national team program and who have found themselves on this stage, the moment is at hand. Paxton deals. And Hernandez will see another one.
97. Just emptying the tank.
Here comes the 0-2 pitch. Hernandez battling. Came on as a defensive replacement in the top of the 7th. He walked in the bottom half of that inning, and here comes Ernie Witt. And at 49 pitches, James Paxton laughing to himself out there and sharing a smile with Ernie Witt as they want Paxton available. This is a short turnaround to the semis, and Paxton will be lifted here in the bottom of the 9th. We are 1 strike away from Canada potentially ending both of these long-time streaks. Ernie Witt's club has never advanced past pool play in the World Baseball Classic. Cuba has never been eliminated in pool play. But Eric Sarantola will take over an 0-2 count on Omar Hernandez as James Paxton got to 49 pitches, 1 shy of that 4-day mandatory rest. And he was lifted by Ernie Witt. So here is Sarantola to try to finish it out. 0-2. In the air, to left. Here comes Owen Casey. And for the first time in its history, Canada is headed on to the World Baseball Classic quarterfinal.
Tyler, it all came together at the right time. We talked about the offense, but what about the pitching? You got guys coming out of retirement, one in James Paxton. What a weapon he was today. You got Cal Quantrill, who was coming off a tough 2025. You didn't quite know what you're going to get from him on this 6th and final day in this start against Cuba. He goes out and dominates. And for the first time ever, Canada knocks off Cuba to go to that next round.
Ryan, baseball is having such a beautiful moment in Canada, and this national team wanted to ride that wave, and they do it in such impressive fashion today. And man, you got to feel great for that guy. Ernie Witt,
Absolutely.
5 previous World Baseball Classics, a Canadian baseball legend. and he finally gets to take this team on that charter happy flight to Houston and play for a chance to go on to Miami in the semis.
Yeah, and look, Ernie Witt, he is all in on the Canadian program. Remember, he's got 15 years of Major League service time. He's been around forever, but this is his bread and butter right here, trying to get this national program to this stage of where it's got now. Everyone's bought in. You've got a really young, star-studded, all of a sudden, offense with the Naylor brothers, Denzel Clark, Otto Lopez. You get the pitching to go with it. Man, they are going to be a force when it comes to that next round.
Look at Eric Sarantola just drinking in the moment. You know, kind of a funny situation for Canada because you want to celebrate this, but as they salute their fans, who have turned out in droves, by the way, you also know you want to celebrate it, but hey, it's got to be business as usual. You're off to Houston to play in the quarters.
For sure, and you have put yourself in such a good spot. Now all of a sudden you got some momentum. It was dicey though, Tyler. You go back to that game against Panama, and you're really second guessing this team, and you're wondering about the offense. Is the offense going to show up? They beat Puerto Rico last night. They took that momentum into today, and they really took advantage of a Cuban team that just looked deflated as this game went on.
We had only 4 games in this pool, Ryan, in which a team scored more than 3 runs. Canada had 2 of those. They scored 8 in their opening day win over Colombia, 7 in the win here today. And as you see a dejected Alfredo Despaigne in that Cuba dugout, the elation of the Naylor brothers on the other side. Joel Santos and his guys, they're going to have to wait for the next World Baseball Classic for an opportunity to try to avenge this. But man, I mean, this moment is all about Baseball Canada, and a massive congratulations to Ernie Witt and his guys who are headed on to the quarterfinal round, and not just headed on, but they again win this group. They are the 3-1 Pool A top seed. And how good does it feel for James Paxton?
Absolutely, man. Again, look, we've been talking about, because we've got a big sample size, nearly pretty much through 3 innings, right? You had to come out with that 49th pitch, but you go 49 pitches, you come out mid-at-bat, you only have 2 days off, come right back, and what a weapon he was out of this bullpen. And coming out of retirement too, what a ride for him. That continues on. He might be getting some calls from some teams saying, hey, listen.
Are we sure James Paxton's done? 97
right.
In a pressure
97.
spot? So here is how things sit on this Wednesday. With a win, Italy would move on as the #1 seed and would advance with the United States in Pool B. Mexico with a win would move on from that group. Venezuela and the Dominican Republic both moving on from Pool D. They will determine the top seed out of their group with their matchup later tonight. But what an incredible moment for Canada. And there was a guy who did a lot to build this national team program who was passed on, but Jim Baba looking down on this program from somewhere right now. Some more shout outs for our crew, our production managers, Brooke Berger, Narissa Brown, and Abby Carrillo. Our video team, Ben Beal, Brandon Collins, Daniel Contreras, and Scotty Vanell. Stage manager, Victor Delgado. Ricardo Valero, our incredible stats guy up here. Our audio team, Glenn Stillwell, Adam Claremont. The chairman, Jason Hanley, and Jared King. Our technical director, Greg Godfrey, our unbelievable director, Troy Clara, and the incomparable Chris Bracey, our producer. And to a good buddy of mine who I've gotten to watch baseball and call baseball with in a whole bunch of countries, this was one of our most fun experiences, Ryan Rowland-Smith. And congratulations to Canada on this win today. This is a blast, man.
It's been fun, Tyler. It's always a pleasure. Hopefully we get a chance to do it again. But man, what a ride this Pool A has been with this amazing crew. Team Canada going through in Puerto Rico. So much fun.
We've got some incredible images of this win and Canada's first trip to the quarterfinal round in the World Baseball Classic. For the final time from here in San Juan, Puerto Rico, for Ryan Rowland-Smith and our entire crew, my name is Tyler Mon. Congratulations to Canada, off to the quarterfinals in 2026.